I am a Doomsday prepper, and I will build a glorious bunker in order to survive the inevitable apocalypse. I'll fight the tyrannical government and uncover their lies.
Hello, dear neighbor. Bless the president. Your eyes are too big.
And my own dark past, too. To achieve 100%, I'll need to knock over all 61 achievements, including speedrunning the game and chasing a pumpkin dingus.
Welcome to 100% of Mr. Prepper. Look at that nuclear mushroom cloud. Beautiful.
A plague swept across America, and an oppressive government has taken over. As a result, the streets of Miracleville have become unbearable.
Filled only with boredom, propaganda, and control.
I tried to escape, but the agency tracked me down and dragged me back. But I'll find a way.
They call me Mr. Prepper.
I was returned to my home after the escape attempt.
Oh, sure. Now I plan to fall back in love with this beautiful town.
Old mate informed me I would be subject to regular inspections to ensure I was complying with the will of the government. Bless the president.
Bless. Look at this. Look at this.
Look at Mr. Prepper jog. He's got legs, no doubt. By the way, that sign is pointing to here, there, and everywhere. I wandered into my home and began getting acquainted with the wacky world of a Doomsday prepper.
It's safe for me to have 4 lamps, apparently. Some fuel? Very empty fuel. The ultimate plan. Escape plan. It's not safe to have any escape plans, that's fair. Okay, so I'm being surveilled, clearly.
I was tired after my escape attempt, so it was time to nap, and earn the achievement for napping during the day. As you can see, napping restored my green energy bar up there. To attend to the red health bar, I needed to eat, so I headed back downstairs to check out the fridge.
Energy drink, carrot, cabbage, beet, soup.
I slurped up some soup, which restored a good chunk of health. A new meter appeared in the middle at the top, my preparedness, the most important of all stats, which is filled by eating, sleeping, and performing top-tier prepper activities such as cooking, crafting, and trading. I guess Mr. Prepper values feeling a sense of preparedness. That checks out.
Goal number 1, survive. Goal number 2, escape.
Best plan I've ever heard. I wandered back downstairs and began construction. Obviously, I needed to hide my anti-government shenanigans, so the only way to build was down.
Look at him constructing right in the door frame.
A moment later, and the first room of my bunker was built.
Am I doing push-ups? Why am I doing push-ups? Grab that cloth off. Hey, trusty workbench, eh? Craft, disassemble, and work magic.
The workbench wasn't even level 1 yet, and I needed 15 wood and 5 metal to upgrade it.
Here I am. What a handsome beast.
Somehow this is just exactly what a prepper looks like. They really nailed the look. I visited my mailbox, which is where I was able to do some unofficial trading. Hopefully the agency doesn't notice. For now, Sergey was my only trading option, and I had 50 righteous and patriotic American dollars to my name. I used 32 of them to buy 8 metal. Upon purchase, my trust level with Sergey increased to level 2, which expanded his shop options, and he also introduced me to his neighbors. Nancy, who was keen to buy furniture, and the supermarket, which of course had food for sale. The metal I'd ordered from Sergey was due to arrive in 2 in-game hours. In the meantime, I clicked on the here, there, and everywhere sign, which opened up the town map, from which I was able to travel to the forest.
Give me some bloobs.
There were indeed some blueberries for me to collect, and according to this sign, this area was home to some bush chicken turkeys and deer. There were also some logs for me to collect.
Dude, that's a massive log to just shove up your butt.
There appeared to be a way deeper into the forest, but apparently it wasn't a good time for that.
The ropeway pillar, used for traveling between forest areas, needs to be repaired first. I can get it up to level 5. How do I repair it? I need 1 lever.
I returned home with 3 big old logs, and the postie was waiting for me.
Here he is. What the heck?
The postman had dutifully delivered the 8 metal from Sergey.
Dude, look at this postman. Look at that silly grin.
I headed out back to the level 0 workbench, at which I was able to disassemble the logs I'd collected from the forest. Each log yielded 5 wood, and while disassembling, time sped up dramatically, so crafting appeared to be a time-consuming endeavor. Using the metal I'd bought and the wood I'd collected, I crafted the workbench level 1, and so my crafting options expanded dramatically. I used the 3 remaining metal I had to craft a ladder. I wandered back inside and chose a spot for it, and with that, a trapdoor appeared to grant me access into my underground bunker. It was rather dark down there, so my next task was to craft a light. For that, I needed glass, so I grabbed some glass cups from my kitchen and headed back out to the workbench.
Wall lamp. I only need 1 glass for a wall lamp, so let's disassemble some cups.
Each cup disassembled into 1 glass, so I soon had 3 glass to my name. I used 1 to craft a wall lamp.
How do I place it? Oh, I drag it?
I placed it right in the middle and discovered I could change its color.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I was then informed it was crucial I sleep before 3 AM. I guess you pass out if it gets that late. I headed to bed and hit sleep, which brought the first day to a close. And this calendar popped up. By the look of it, the agent was due to visit again in the morning. On day 2, I'd barely made it downstairs before I spotted the agent waltzing up to my front door. It was of course imperative that I hide any evidence of my prepper ways, which included covering up the trapdoor down to my bunker and hiding my new workbench.
Alright, big fella. Hello.
In came the agent, and I stood idly by, waiting for him to complete his government inspection.
Nothing suspicious here, mate. Definitely no trapdoors beneath you.
As he inspected, he blabbered on about how government overreach and control was for the good of the people.
Bless the president. Definitely no workbenches out here.
But of all the things I should have hidden, the giant board above my bed describing my ultimate plan to rebel and escape was probably high on the list.
Oh crap, I didn't hide this. I forgot I forgot about the escape plan.
I thought for sure he'd just shoot me in the head and be done with me, but instead he just gave me an unflattering report card. Apparently I was 72% suspicious because I had 1 too many escape plans and 2 too many barrels. Surely that's 100% suspicious, but fair enough. I uncovered my bunker and got to work with the knowledge that the agency was onto me. I popped the workbench down and headed to the kitchen, where I earned the achievement for cooking my first meal. I used 6 blueberries to make a smoothie, which restored about 1/3 of my health, and then I tried grabbing all the ingredients I had in the fridge to see if I could cook something else. After collecting some water from the tap, I was able to brew up some delicious veggie soup using 2 carrots, 1 beet, and 2 cabbages plus water. Cooking, much like crafting, sped up time and took up a decent chunk of the day. And once a dish was finished cooking, my preparedness meter filled up a bit. Actually eating the dishes of course restored health and a bit of preparedness as well. I checked my journal, which kept track of my missions, and with that I earned the achievement for completing the tutorial. I headed upstairs to check in on the ultimate plan.
Establish a food source.
Seems like a good idea. I figured the first room of the bunker would be for my work table and storage, so I began digging out a second room in which I planned to house my garden. But the weirdo postman arrived to interrupt me.
1 letter. Beautiful, flowery handwriting. Do you like flowers, herbs, and plants in general? Are you having trouble making friends in the town? Are you tired of urban life and sad men in suits visiting your home? Do you enjoy nature?
All of the above. This was an invitation to the forest, where I might meet someone friendly, apparently. And so I abandoned my construction and headed to the forest instead. The blueberries had regrown, so I picked a bunch, and I grabbed any logs I saw too. And this time I was able to head down this path deeper into the forest. And so I arrived in the second area of the forest level 1. I found a note on this tree about the Hunters Club.
Free range and ethically shot to death.
With that, the Huntress Lavinia was added to my trading options. I continued on, I chased a deer, and I headed even deeper into the woods. Section 3 of level 1. I was carrying too much stuff, so I was sadly unable to grab this log.
Is that a suspicious bush? Oh, what? Wait, is that the lever? That is a suspicious bush. Hello. I see you. Oh, fudge, I wasn't hiding, just picking some berries. What the heck? Hello, Buttercup. I knew you would come.
And that's how I met Jenny the herbalist. She was lovingly cuddling her pot plant named Bob, and she told me that she had a cabin in the woods. However, a vicious wolf had been hanging around near it, so she couldn't return home.
Is a red hood and a basket required for this mission?
I agreed to help Jenny and Bob with their wolf problem. I also found a lever, the very thing I needed to repair the ropeway. Further along, I found a gondola, fallen from the ropeway, and inside was some exotic bait, plastic, and glass. I was at 100 out of 100 carrying capacity though, so I left it for now. Back at the entrance to the forest, I shoved the lever into the ropeway pillar and spent a couple of hours on the repair job, and suddenly I was able to travel to level 2.
How do I repair this? Lever and 15 metal. Okay.
But it was late and I was almost out of energy, so for now I headed to home and went to sleep, and learned the next agent inspection would be in a couple of days. On day 3, I discovered something rather useful.
Oh, the boxes can be disassembled and get wood from a book. Seeds. Seeds? Oh, here we go. Seeds. I can disassemble like everything. Alright, I got a lot of seeds. We're good. We're good.
I disassembled a few logs into wood at the workbench. I found $10 in a random cupboard, and I turned the computer on.
Prepper OS.
I don't know what was going on with this computer. There were some files and some rather lovely pictures.
Whoa, look at this. That's what we can work towards. Oh. A rocket?
I had enough blueberries for 2 more smoothies, so I blended those up and drank them both immediately. And I discovered some rotten food in my bag, so I guess food spoils if you hang on to it too long. The blueberries in the fridge had a red border, so it appears they were close to rotten despite the fridge's best efforts. I rearranged the workshop a little, and I meant to make a wooden chest, but I somehow accidentally made a wardrobe. Oh well, it was still useful for storage. I changed the lighting, and I continued digging out the room below. My energy ran out while I was building, and my preparedness began draining rather fast, but I got it done. I had a nap, and then hit up the mailbox to purchase some stuff from Sergey. It seemed my best option for obtaining metal was to disassemble boxes, so I spent $28 ordering 7. I then realized there was heaps of stuff in my kitchen that could be disassembled, so I grabbed a cookie box, kettle, pot, and some containers.
Just disassemble like a maniac.
I did exactly that, and all up claimed 8 metal and even a cheeky bit of plastic from the cookie box. The postman arrived with 7 more boxes for me to rip apart, but it was rather late, so I decided to save that for tomorrow. Now in this game, I'm prepping for the apocalypse, but today's sponsor is post-apocalyptic. Big thanks to StarCraft X for for sponsoring the video. StarCraft X is a hardcore PvPvE extraction shooter, set in a massive open world where every mission is full of risk and chaos. The game is set in the Exclusion Zone, a dangerous land full of quests, random events, and real stalker players. There are high loot but high risk areas to fight over, and whatever you carry out of a raid is yours. But if you die, you lose the loot you find, though you keep what you had equipped. There are 4 factions to choose from: the free-roaming Dawn, the militarized Frontier, the ruthless Mercenaries, and the fanatical Covenant, each with its own allies, enemies, and quest lines. StarCraft X features a deep weapon customization system, from sights to handguards to grips to muzzles, and you can assemble a set for any style, sneaky if you like, or you can be rather loud with a big fat shotgun. You can jump into a quickfire deathmatch or gun game session for 5 to 10 minutes of pure PvP action, or you can enjoy the open world's tactical endgame, and of course the clan wars will keep you busy too. These are tournament style battles for strategic points that demand smoothly executed teamwork in order to achieve victory. There's plenty to look forward to as well. Operations will be added to the game soon. Operations are 3-player co-op raids with bosses and unique weapon mods, and that's just one of many new features in the pipeline, as the game is constantly updated with new events and game modes. Click the link below and jump into the zone right now, and enter my code SM25 Floydson to grab exclusive rewards to boost the beginning of your StarCraft X journey. Okay friends, back to the prep.
The days are like quite quick on this game, so I gotta get strategic about how I want to approach things, I think.
I now had 15 metal, so I crafted another ladder and placed it down. And I then needed glass, so I yoinked all the cups from the kitchen and got busy disassembling those. I used the glass to make some more wall lamps, which I placed in the new room.
2 ground to make soil patch. Let's make some soil patches.
When I dug out these 2 rooms, I'd collected quite a lot of ground, so I was able to make multiple soil patches in which I attempted to plant some seeds. Unfortunately, I am a bit of a goose, so I failed to actually plant them, and instead just placed them down on top of the soil. I crafted and placed some more soil patches, and you'll notice it was already past 5 PM, so the days certainly do get chewed up fast when you have a big crafting session, as each item tends to take at least half an in-game hour to craft, but for some items it's longer than that. I needed more space, so I dug out another little room, but then I realized I should have made it way bigger using the enormous green arrows.
I can upgrade it somehow? What do I upgrade it with?
I was also able to customize the wall, floor, and ceiling, though I hadn't unlocked many options yet. After a little bit of interior designing, my bunker was looking rather lovely.
I wish I made that room bigger though. I made a mistake. Can I delete the room?
All good, I was able to delete it, and it turns out you can expand the room quite a lot.
Oh dude, you can make massive rooms. Okay, that's interesting. Alright, I'm gonna die though because I'm hungry and I need a nap.
When your health and energy are below 50%, your preparedness begins draining rather quickly, so I needed to be careful. I ate some soup, and then it was time for bed.
Oh dude, I can punch. Wait, what? I can punch in both directions, like an absolute beast.
Getting distracted by my ability to punch almost caused my preparedness to hit 0, but not quite. An inspection was scheduled for day 5, and I wanted to perform a little better this time.
Turn that over. Yes, bless the president. That's a handsome president, honestly. Bless him. Alright, so we've hidden that this time.
The last inspection happened first thing in the morning, but today the agent was nowhere to be seen, so I resumed work in my bunker.
Oh. Yeah, I'm stupid, bro.
I wasn't quite used to right-clicking stuff in order to perform actions, but here I go actually planting seeds, some cabbages, carrots, and beets. I then dug out a big old room. I still had some glass left over from the great drinking glass purge, so I crafted a few more wall lamps, but as I began placing them, I discovered a troubling limitation.
Too many things using electricity. Wait, what? Oh, for goodness sake.
So I was gonna have to figure out how to generate more power. For now, I took one down and that fixed the issue. And as I'm sure you noticed, the agent had arrived. So I scrambled up the ladder and covered the hatch. I thought I was all sweet. The poster was hidden. The bunker entrance was covered. Surely I'd be all good. I couldn't believe the troubling report card I received.
Suspicious items? Too many barrels? Oh, I didn't have cups or kettles because I destroyed them? For goodness sake.
Yeah, I completely missed the barrel issue from the previous inspection, so the barrel situation had remained unchanged. And I'd also destroyed too much of my kitchen, to the point that it was suspicious. Fortunately, you can craft cups and kettles, and they cost exactly the same as what I'd taken from the original cups and kettle. Meanwhile, I'd completely run out of energy, so I really should have napped, but I had a lot to do. Gotta eat soup, gotta grab some water, and dribbled it on the crops.
These need way more light? Is that the problem?
Yeah, they wanted more light. Also, I'd removed one crop plot because I wanted to place a ladder here later, so that's why one of the crops disappeared. I discovered moving these wall lamps closer improved the setup, as the light meter on the crops filled up a little bit more.
I'm gonna lose... Dude, what? I need to sleep. I'm gonna die. I'm running out of preparedness.
I was kind of bamboozled, no doubt about it. I napped past 8 PM, and after 8 PM is when you can officially sleep to end the day. So I evolved the nap into a full-blown night of sleep. If you go to bed early, you wake with more energy, so this was actually a pretty good play.
I can buy stuff from the Huntress. I can buy bait, chicken leg, haunch of meat.
I had no money though. I watered the crops even though they weren't fully dry. This was a mistake as it still used 1 water for each, and water is actually more of a limited resource than I realized. I stole a light from the workshop and put it above the final crop to ensure they all had a respectable light source. I made a 5th soil patch and I soon had the farm overflowing to the right.
So the veggie soup requires 2 carrots, 2 cabbage, 1 beet. So let's plant
more cabbage and carrots. I placed the new cups and kettle in the kitchen, and planting those 5 seeds had completed the first step of my ultimate plan. So I checked the board. It was now time to plan my next escape attempt.
car, plane, rocket. No, that's just crazy. 1 inspiration.
I needed a genius idea to slap me in the forehead and send the euphoria of inspiration deep into my bones. And what do you know? Here comes the big lumbering postman Dingus. He delivered some rather timely mail.
I think I got some inspiration. The Minuteman messaged me. Dear Mr. Prepper, you don't know me, but your ambitions have caught my eye.
I had a secret admirer, and he knew my last escape attempt hadn't gone well, but he had the solution for me, in the form of a big old rocket.
We'll need some planning though, yeah, I'd say so.
The 3rd piece of mail was a citizen inspection protocol, explaining the standard house equipment needed to avoid suspicion.
Put the rocket inspiration in there then.
I spent the afternoon planning and came up with phase 1 of the ultimate rocket plan.
I need 50 stone, 20 metal, and 10 glass. I feel like that's not even that bad. Oh wait, where do I get stone from? I don't even know.
It seemed phase 1 was to build an underground rocket silo. Very cool. I needed 15 metal to repair level 2 of the forest ropeway, and my only way to get metal was to disassemble boxes bought from Sergey. But I had $0, so I inspected the trading map and discovered Nancy likes to buy wooden furniture. I still had 12 wood left over from the logs I'd collected, so I spent the evening making a table and 2 chairs.
7, 15. Yeah, the tables are definitely more efficient. It's 5 wood into $15. This is 3 wood into $7. I just made a mistake making the chairs there. But that'll get me money, and then I can buy stuff from Sergey.
And with that, I'd worked out a bit of a money-making scheme, assuming I could find some more wood. In the morning, I had a harvest of cabbages, carrots, and beets. And I got some seeds back. Plus, I still had some seeds left over from my cupboards, so I was able to replant. I made 1 vegetable soup, which I ate immediately. The harvesting and cooking boosted my preparedness nicely, so my stats were looking healthy.
So my sink's not ready to give me more water yet, so I gotta make sure I get the water from it every time I can, because I need the water to cook, and I also need the water to water my crops.
It's a bit rough when your sink has a cooldown, but that's what happens when the government gets out of control. My $29 had arrived from the furniture I sold to Nancy.
Hello, dear neighbor. Bless the president. Your eyes are too big. What the heck, man? Don't walk like that.
I headed to the forest where I wandered around level 1 picking blueberries and picking up the logs and gondola loot I hadn't been able to carry last time. With that, I had fully explored the first level, so I took the ropeway to level 2. This area was similar to the first, with berries and logs.
Punch the deer.
Except towards the end of the area, there were a few signs warning of danger ahead.
I just muscled straight through that.
This was the final section of level 2, where the herbalist lives.
I'll punch a wolf if I have to. Oh, this is some loot.
As I continued forward, the bothersome wolf emerged from the bushes.
You don't have a baseball bat. In this case, you should run. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear.
It turned out, when it came down to it, I was not willing to punch a wolf. Back at home, I disassembled some logs and crafted a bat.
Yeah. Whack 'em. Whack 'em.
These 2 farm plots were ready, so I harvested and replanted. The water was ready, so I grabbed it, and it was time for bed. That night, I earned an achievement.
Don't eat any meat for 7 days.
I cooked some carrot soup to keep my body fueled, and the Minuteman sent me more mail.
Dear Mr. Prepper.
He basically said you're welcome for the rocket inspiration, that he would keep helping me, and he asked if I'd help him in return.
As an icebreaker, I would just love to have a jar of blueberry jam.
I needed sugar to make the jam, so I ordered some from the supermarket for $10, and last week's inspection report had turned into waste paper, which I was able to sell to Nancy for $6. I'd found a few bait in the fallen gondolas, so I crafted 3 simple traps. And by the time I was done with that, the sugar had arrived in the mail. So I made blueberry jam out of 10 bloobs, the sugar, and some glass. I had 26 blueberries left over, and I figured I'd better make use of them before they spoiled. So I began blending some smoothies. But then the agent arrived for another inspection. By this point, I understood the tolerable limit of fuel cans was 1, so I picked up 2 of them to move into my bunker. And I of course covered the trapdoor. This time round, I had a good report.
I had suspicion level at like 70% last 2 times. This time 34%. No issues. Surely that's glorious stuff.
I sent the jam to the Minuteman, and he paid $30 for it, so that was nice. And I'd had the perfect amount of stuff in my house. I'd had 0 suspicious items, so I figured I could just leave my house exactly the way it was from now on, and surely I'd pass every inspection. I headed to level 2 of the forest, where I placed the 3 traps and popped bait in each one. Hopefully I'll catch some delicious animals. It was nice to see the blueberries regrew daily. I'd always be able to pluck some if I was desperately hungry. I also grabbed some logs I hadn't been strong enough to carry last time.
I like how this thing just goes flying every time. Where's this mangy wolf, man? Get some. Get some. Get knocked. Get dazed. Oh yeah, huge. Oh my gosh. No, you don't. No, you don't. Easy. There's a whole army of them. Ow. 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 Good thing I'm at full health. Boom!
So that's how the combat plays out when you're Mr. Prepper. Just whack 'em over and over.
A glorious achievement, kill all the wolves around Jenny's forest hut.
I found another lever for the ropeway repair, and another gondola had fallen here. The plastic was the best of its loot.
Well, I think I fixed up your house, Grandma.
I thought she wasn't able to get to the hut because of the wolves, but here she was, so maybe she snuck in right after I bashed them with a baseball bat.
I've heard about a curious kind of mushroom growing in the old mine just outside of town. Could you bring me some?
And so the Old Creek Mine was added to the map. Also, apparently TV was very propaganda heavy since the plague. Back at home, I had more mail from the Minuteman.
Please deliver me a good book about nuclear warfare and its consequences, something non-fiction.
That night, I noticed my next inspection was scheduled in 5 days instead of 3. I guess thanks to the decrease in my suspiciousness. I made a bunch of blueberry smoothies on day 9, and as you can see, I'd collected 2 chunks of meat from those wolves. They also dropped some wolf skin. I made a chest and expanded my bunker storage, and I found a newspaper at my front door that definitely wasn't propaganda. It was called The Truth, so obviously it was very true. It warned that issues with the dam would result in a water shortage sometime soon. After helping Jenny, the herbalist store was now available to trade with. She sells mostly seeds, and it was then time to head to the Old Creek Mine.
The mines. The mines. Oh, look at this, dude. What the heck?
I found a buffhead chilling near the entrance. He tried to shoo me away, but he soon realized I didn't have that dead look in my eyes like the rest of the townspeople.
I'm Bob. Oh, it's Bob. Wait, isn't Bob the pot plant?
Bob proposed that I fix the mine elevator, and in exchange he'd allow me to freely access the mine. To fix it, I needed 10 metal.
I believe I can manage 10 metal.
Obviously, buying many boxes from Sergey is the optimal way to acquire metal. I had $61 from selling the Minuteman jam and my other money-making ventures, so I was able to buy as many as I was allowed, which was 3 of each. Meanwhile, I was down to just 3 active farm plots, because you're not guaranteed a return seed when you harvest. I looked more carefully at the kitchen and realized there were some larger containers atop the fridge. When you mouse over an item, it tells you the safe amount you're supposed to have to appease the agent. So I grabbed as much as I could, while still leaving enough to keep the overlords happy. Meanwhile, 9 boxes arrived in the mail. I noticed I had more books and book sets than necessary, so I grabbed all the extras and teed them up to be disassembled for more wood. That night, the calendar informed me those dam issues would result in the water being cut off in a few days. In the morning, I slammed a couple of blueberry smoothies and returned to the mine.
Wait, what? How did I only bring 9 metal? Dang it.
I'd had 8 metal left over from earlier, and I'd only disassembled 1 small box last night. Something wasn't adding up. I disassembled another and spent a couple of hours repairing the elevator. Bob was pleased, and his house became available for trading, and I was now able to descend into the mines.
We're moving? I need a pickaxe. Oh, can I just grab it? I can just grab it. What the heck? Come here, bat. Ow.
Each stop of the elevator leads to one of these shafts, which sometimes meander to a chunk of gold. The next stop led to another slappable bat and a heck of a lot of stone.
That's a lot of stone. Okay, I ran out of space already.
Each rock weighed 20 pounds, and I could carry 100 pounds max. I continued up, and while I had to leave the rocks for later, after dispensing with this bat, I made a glorious find.
Oh, some fuel? Okay. Some more gold. What's this? Grenades? Put the stone in there and then get this stuff.
The big rocks disassemble into 5 stones, but this other loot was too juicy to ignore. As I continued my descent, I realized you could store stuff in the elevator, so I made use of that immediately to free up space in my bag. This shaft just had a sneaky nugget of gold, and the final shaft of this mine entrance area was rather long, requiring strong ladder climbing fingers.
Oh, big fat rat. Get some big fat rat.
There ended up being quite a few big fat rats, and I enjoyed how there was a little slow-mo effect when I vanquished the last of them. My reward was this lovely green pass card.
Pass card to level -1 in the mine. Okay, so we can get deeper and deeper, man.
I grabbed all the rocks I'd left behind and ferried everything to the elevator storage, and once at the top, I filled my bag with as much as possible and headed back home. It was nice to have a use for those fuel drums. I disassembled a rock and collected my first ever stones. I was going to need 50 of these for the rocket silo. I returned to the mines and filled my bag once more.
That's enough for 25 more stone, and there's 2 more, 35, 40. So I don't quite have enough stone yet, but I'm getting there. I got a lot of stuff to disassemble, so that's good.
In the morning, I watered my crops, and the carrots were soon ready for harvest. So I stood there like a dingus, fast-forwarding time, hoping the other stuff would also finish growing. They refused to grow, so I wasted half the day before heading back to the mines and going down to level -1.
What is this? Oh, there's stuff in here. I need fuel. Oh, okay.
On the opposite side, I spotted a tunnel, so I wandered over and in I went.
Oh, what the heck, dude? I found you, Bob.
Bob has quite an impressive lair in the mines, there's no doubt. He randomly gave me his broken radio, and I told him I was down here to sightsee. He asked if while I was exploring I could find his lost jacket, but he warned me to be careful, as there are certain organisms in the depths. He also gave me his broken telephone.
Oh, he's got the book. He's got the book. Ask about the book.
I asked if he had any books on nuclear warfare, and he thought that was a rather suspicious line of inquiry, but he had something for me.
Check out the illustrations, you can actually feel excited about your area being nuked. True.
And so I received the classic novel, What to Know and Do About Nuclear Warfare.
We got some mushies, bro.
I began exploring level -1, which was a little darker and a little creepier than the entrance. Also, it did indeed feature some mushrooms. And a big rock, too.
I need a pickaxe. How do I get a pickaxe?
Without one, I couldn't explore fully down here, but there were some accessible shafts, from which I claimed more mushrooms, and I got in another epic battle with rats. One of the rats managed to flank me, which caused high drama as I was nearly gobbled by the rodent gang. Alas, my baseball bat was too hefty, and I was able to claim the level -2 access card. Another shaft was big rock blocked, but I was able to claim a couple more gold nuggies at the end of some other passages. A successful mission.
A book about nuclear warfare. Lovely. Becoming best friends with the Minuteman. Let's do some roasted rat. Yes. Delicious roasted rat. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. Whoopsie, the water has been cut off. Oh gosh, goodness gracious me, what do I do about that?
At first I thought the water outage was from now on, but it turned out to be just for one day, so it wasn't a huge problem.
$60. What's next, Mr. Minuteman? A follow-up request. You want a Geiger counter now? I'm not saying I need to use it right now, but still I would like to learn how to use it, and rather sooner than later.
The Minuteman's requests were rather concerning. I was getting the feeling he knew something relating to the use of nukes in the not too distant future.
Oh, Bob sells the pickaxe. Nice.
Bob also had skill books for sale.
Learn how to carry more. Oh, that's good. Carry more stuff.
I was able to scoop up the water pooled in my sink, but it didn't refill for the rest of the day. After a cook and a feast, I harvested the last of the cabbage and carrots, and neither of them gave me any seeds back, so I was officially done with farming unless I opted to buy more. My pickaxe arrived in the mail, which earned me an achievement, and I'd collected plenty of mushrooms from the mines yesterday, so it was time to return to Jenny. My traps had sprung, so I collected some meat and feathers from them before popping more bait in there. By the look of it, these things can be used 3 or 4 times before they break. Jenny wanted the 8 mushrooms in order to make a herbal tea to help villagers who were struggling with sleep.
I got you some mushrooms for you.
She was happy with the mushies, but apparently more and more people were complaining of sleep issues, headaches, and concentration problems. She asked me if I had any issues like that, and I had to admit, yes I did.
Must be something in the air.
It's the 5G for sure. She asked me to go find some guarana so that she could experiment with it for her next remedy idea. I needed 15 metal to repair the ropeway in order to reach level 3 of the forest, and I was overdue disassembling a bunch of crap, so I got busy. Since I'd recently been opting to go to bed early each day, I accidentally earned an achievement.
Do not nap for 7 days. Getting some achievements now, baby.
I'd collected another buttload of blueberries while visiting Jenny, so on the morning of day 13 it was time for more smoothie.
Wait, what's this? Gourmet? Where'd this come from?
I don't know how, but I now had access to trading with the gourmet food shop. At this point, I didn't really care about that though, I just wanted more boxes from Sergey. I whiled the day away disassembling like a maniac. Logs and rocks yielded many wood and stone. I had another inspection, and I was once again all clear, so I became even less suspicious. And when I picked up the boxes I'd ordered, I realized I'd hit level 3 trust with Sergey, which meant I could buy even bigger boxes.
That's more efficient metal. 2 metal for $7 instead of small boxes, which is only 1 metal for $4. There we go, we get some more metal efficiency.
The Minuteman sent me a heads up. Apparently, the agency was going to check water usage during inspections from now on. Apparently, I needed to avoid using excessive amounts of water. Also, more stores kept popping up.
I unlocked Tony the Tailor as well. I can sell Bob a bunch of gold. Do I need gold for any crafting, you reckon? I don't really know what the hell I'm doing.
I had another disassembling session, tearing apart all of them boxes, and a couple more big rocks to round out the day. That night, I learned that my next inspection would be in 6 days. The gap had once again widened thanks to my even less suspicious ways. Another newspaper was delivered to my door, and this one warned of rambunctious thunderstorms that were going to cause a power outage soon. Apparently, the newspaper always warns of upcoming outages. I had enough metal after yesterday's disassembling, so I headed to the forest where I collected from my traps and spent an hour repairing the next part of the ropeway, which allowed me access to level 3 of the forest. Apparently foxes and wolves could be trapped here. There were also nice juicy guarana plants for me to harvest from, along with more logs to grab. I continued deeper and collected many goodies.
Get some. You big idiot.
This ropeway obviously has a troubled past, because there were so many fallen gondolas in this forest, and there were wolves on the loose bothering me every now and then too. There were also more logs than I could carry. I was soon in the 4th part of level 3, and once I looted yet another gondola, my bag was completely full. I headed into section 5, and finally spotted the many warning signs that indicated I'd arrived in the final part of this forest level. There was a wolf battle awaiting me, which went well until my baseball bat broke.
Oh dear. Boom. I'm just punching them.
I was planning to take on the remaining wolves with my meaty fists, but as I strategically backed away, I accidentally left the area, which reset the fight. So I figured I'd come back again later.
Jenny, I have guarana. Some fruits for you.
Jenny informed me the mushroom concoction was not really a success, so she wanted more guarana, and she wanted me to grow some for her, so she gave me some seeds. But my piles of dirt on the floor weren't good enough for guarana.
I need a planter. Oh.
I disassembled some logs and cooked a quick feed before heading to bed. In the morning, I earned the achievement for reaching day 15. I bought some large boxes I disassembled, including the radio and phone I'd yoinked from Bob, which yielded precious plastic and electronics, and I crafted some wardrobes, shelves, and another baseball bat. I sold the furniture to Nancy for a cheeky $78. That used up a fair bit of wood, but I figured it was worth it so I could buy more boxes. In the morning, Nancy wanted to buy slightly different stuff, so evidently people's requests varied day to day. I continued buying up delicious boxes, and I was finally able to craft the workbench level 2 upgrade, which cost 15 metal, 15 wood, and 5 stone.
Okay, coffee machine, dryer, steam generator. I can get a planter now, which I need to grow the guarana. Farming wall lamp.
The most exciting new craftable was a backpack, but I needed textiles. I realized the agent wouldn't care if I removed this painting and poster, so I disassembled them to collect 4 textiles. That plus a random textile I had from earlier meant I now had the 5 needed to make the bag. I don't know how I got away without napping at all for 7 days, because during the last couple of days I definitely needed one. After the nap, I equipped the backpack. It increased my carrying capacity from 100 to 140. I rounded out the day disassembling the boxes I bought from Sergey and some books I still hadn't gotten around to.
We got a blackout. Oh dear.
The main consequence of the blackout was the stuff in my fridge was no longer being preserved, but food didn't seem that hard to come by, so I wasn't too worried. I headed out to level 3 of the forest, where I bonked many wolves on the head, but my main goal was to collect some more logs. I wasn't opposed to collecting more guarana either. When I reached the final area, I triggered the same wolf battle from earlier, except this time my baseball bat did not break, and I was able to swing like a maniac until victory, though it threw a couple of extra big bad wolves at me, and it took quite a few swings to kill those. I got there eventually, and I claimed some loot from a chest, plus yet another ropeway lever. The next repair job required 10 plastic, so the 5 I'd found in that gondola were going to be handy. Thanks to my increased bag capacity, I'd been able to bring back 6 logs, 30 wood worth. I sold some more old paper to make what money I could.
I don't want to save up 100 and buy the Atlas jacked one so I can carry even more.
It was quite dark in the bunker due to the blackout, but Mr. Prepper does not need light to disassemble many logs. Don't worry about it. He can also craft wardrobes in the dark, while butt tired beyond exhaustion.
I'm going to lose so much preparedness because I'm tired while crafting this. Not the greatest play. Oh, you get some back for crafting though, so it's all good.
Once again, I was using heaps of wood in order to fuel Nancy's furniture addiction, in exchange for profit.
So if I can make a furnace, then presumably I can get my own metal if I mine the iron ore.
Despite the glory of disassembling many of Sergey's boxes, I was beginning to dream of a slightly more efficient metal collecting method. I used my furniture business money to buy the Atlas jacked book from Bob for $100, and I was back in the bunker for yet more crafting, because it was about time I made some planters. They cost 2 wood and 5 ground, so I made 4 no worries. I got rid of the stinky floor dirt and played around figuring out how best to fit the planters, and soon ended up with them lined up like this. And I planted the guarana seeds Jenny had given me. I gave each plant its own light for photosynthesis and all that. And now that I'd planted the seeds, my next task was to bring Jenny 20 guarana.
Alright, we got an important book to read here. Read. Atlas jacked, you can carry more. Beautiful. Oh, it was only 20 more. That's not as much more as I was hoping. But that's my first skill, I guess. My first skill is that I'm jacked.
I crafted a miner helmet out of 4 metal, 3 glass, and 1 electronics. Except I accidentally made 2.
Wait, what? Why did I make 2?
I don't know what I was eating, but it was probably delicious. And also, I wasn't happy because electronics are rare. But I was able to disassemble the second helmet to retrieve 100% of the crafting materials, so it was no big deal after all. And now I had a lovely helmet upon my noggin. In the morning, it was newsprint deja vu. Another blackout was on the way. I made 2 buckets out of 3 metal and 1 plastic each and placed them outside. These were for supplementing my town water supply with a bit of captured rainwater. As luck would have it, it soon started raining.
How fast are they filling? Oh, they're filling pretty fast. That's a good amount of water.
I'd gotten into a habit of eating things just before they went rotten, including these raw chicken legs. As the salmonella began overtaking my body, the agent made his approach.
I'm worried that he won't like the hat on my head.
I took the mildly suspicious mining helmet off, but I forgot I was holding an equally suspicious enormous pickaxe.
Crap, I'm holding a pickaxe. Is that gonna make him angry?
It is not your typical household accessory, and so my suspicion level rose back up a nudge to 20%. Also, he measured my water consumption rate. Apparently, I only used 1 per day on average, which was well under the acceptable limit of 6 per day. Thanks to my furniture-based relationship with Nancy, our trust had grown, so now she offered to buy more stuff. And then I finally realized something. All of these core materials, from wood to stone to electronics, don't weigh anything, so there was no reason not to carry them at all times. I guess that's to make crafting easier, and it was also great news for my storage management. I headed to the mines for an evening pickaxe workout.
Oh, bunch of ore. some fuel as well.
I fought a bunch more rats and claimed the access card to level -3 of the mines. I was delighted by the loot on display, and since I was finding so much fuel, I figured I should power up this big honkin' machine. I put 4 jerry cans worth in to fill it up.
Does it work while I'm not here? You'd have to assume so, right?
And I'd found a bunch of iron ore, so the dream was alive. I was on my way to getting metal in a way other than destroying Sergey's boxes. But I ran out of time to craft a furnace, so I finished it up in the morning. I placed it here and popped some ore in there, which began melting using wood as fuel. It seemed like my guarana plants were eternal.
These bushes will stay here forever now and I think just regrow guarana.
And here it is, my first bit of metal collected from a furnace. This thing melts 1 ore into 1 metal, and it doesn't use up that much wood, so this was great news. I tried out a shelf, but it was too small. So I tried out a taller shelf, but it was too skinny. I was hoping for a shelf big enough to stack up multiple chests. Alas, this was the most space-efficient storage setup I could come up with. There was room for a fuel barrel to squeeze in there, so I was happy, and I felt more organized.
It's still going, dude. Oh yeah, holy dooly, that's crazy. Almost empty. Let's fill it up again.
I headed down to level 3, where there was another mining contraption, so I whacked some fuel in there too. It seemed these were going to provide plenty of good stuff, and as 20 more ore went into the furnace, I officially no longer needed to source metal from Sergey. I'd stacked up 14 gold by this point, so I googled what it was for.
I was wondering maybe it could be used for electronics later, but apparently it's purely for trading.
Bob was willing to buy 10 per day, so that was a solid $50. On day 22, a mischievous ginger woman unplugged my power again, and power outages were definitely worse than the water being cut off, because without light, my plants completely paused in their growth.
Buy more gold from me, Bob. Cookbook level 1, let's get that. Because then maybe I can cook mushrooms and guarana into something. Let's go to level 3 and get 5 more guarana so I can take it to Jenny.
The guarana plants in my bunker still hadn't yielded a harvest, but the follow-up quest hadn't specified the guarana had to be homegrown. She just wanted 20. While exploring, I used my pickaxe for violence.
The pickaxe is not bad for violence, man.
And since I was here, I of course collected logs too.
Jenny! Hey Jenny, I got some guarana for you. Alright, nice. She reckons the other townsfolk are wilted. Yes, they're very strange. They do look rather dull, unlike you or Bob. Me, Bob, and Jenny are just real, you know what I mean? By the way, do you know that a guy taking care of the mine is also named Bob? Yes, and you find it funny because... Are you secretly in love with Bob? Jenny? Like the real Bob? You know about the plane crash in the forest a few months ago? I don't.
Apparently, a plane crashed deep in the forest, and there hadn't been a word about it in the newspaper. Jenny wanted me to continue repairing the ropeway so that I could venture deeper and investigate the crash site. My cookbook had arrived in the mail, so I read it and learned a bunch of new recipes.
Omelette? I can make energy drinks out of dried guarana.
I grabbed some of the fuel I'd stocked and returned to the mines, because I wanted to keep the miners chugging. The level 2 one had dug up a ruby, and the level 3 one had dug up some salt and an emerald. The iron ore yielded was of course going to be useful too. I began exploring deeper into level 3, except it was cold down here, so I had a frosty debuff that I believe caused me to use up my energy faster.
Oh dear, my stamina's really low. Oh, a bunch more fuel. Delicious. Dude, when your stamina's out and you're still doing stuff, you lose preparedness so fast.
I definitely needed to be more careful with my stamina. In the morning, I made a whopping $140 selling the gems and gold I'd collected from the mines. I had a cooking session, and these energy drinks had been in the fridge since the start of the game, and I figured it was about time I actually drank them, so I kept a few in my inventory from now on.
What are you hanging around for, you big weirdo? $140.
I began crafting a dryer out of 8 metal and 1 electronics, but I soon ran out of stamina. Rather than heading for a nap, I slammed back one of those energy drinks, which restored about 50% of my stamina, and I got back to it. I placed the dryer on top of this fuel can, and the power was immediately overloaded, so it cut out, so I powered the dryer off for now.
Here's a problem, right? I can't access the lights I placed behind these giant bushes.
I powered off some lights in the house, and that created some margin for the dryer to work. I grabbed some guarana from the fridge and popped it in there.
Look at it dry. It vibrates aggressively when it dries. That's my favorite.
I was going to use the dried guarana to make energy drinks, so this was the beginning of my quest for infinite stamina.
Keep my house unchanged for 7 days. Okay.
The outer planters had less light available than the central ones, and so those plants grew slightly slower, and therefore my guarana harvest times never lined up. Also, I needed to solve the problem of the lights hiding behind the bush, so I had to rip them down. I wanted to upgrade to farming wall lamps anyway, so I made a couple of those out of 2 plastic and glass each. These provided much better light to the plants compared to the wall lamps, even though I only used 2. I worked out you can smelt stone into glass, so I whacked 36 stone in there to cook, and when I customized this room, I discovered I had more options available. Placing a lamp here tripped the power again, so I turned off another light in the house to masterfully solve that problem. My 12 guarana had dried by this point, so I was able to make 4 energy drinks. And from now on, I put every guarana harvest into the dryer, and thereby kept the stamina juice flowing. I headed to the mines, where I grabbed what the level 2 and 3 miners had dug up, and I did some collecting of my own, as I pickaxed bats and big rocks to progress deeper into level 3. This included traveling a rather convoluted series of ladders to reach a chest.
Look at this ridiculous way. That's quite long.
Day 25 was an inspection day, so I prepared for that, and I did some trading, including buying the Art of Negotiation book from Bob.
I mean, cucumbers are so expensive for some reason, so let's get cucumbers.
If it's expensive, it must be good. So I bought some cucumber seeds and corn seeds.
I should have bought the corn and the cucumber after I got the book to make stuff cheaper. That was one of the dumber things I've done.
More guarana had dried, so I was able to make more energy drinks, and soon my stuff arrived. I read my new book and learned the Art of Negotiation skill. By the look of it, it made things 5% cheaper, and raised my sale prices by 5% too. I had a quick jaunt to the forest to collect blueberries because I was kind of low on food, and when the agent arrived, I covered the trapdoor and let him do his thing. Do you reckon these inspectors ever think to look below rugs? Especially rugs that are raised an extra inch above the other rug right next to it? Anyway, it was another flawless inspection, and my suspicion level dropped down to 10%. I ordered another cucumber seed, and I headed to the mines, where I collected from the miners and continued delving into level 3. This included an epic battle against many rats, where I swung my pickaxe like a maniac and I nearly died. My health got extremely low, and my stamina was bottoming out too. But you don't actually faint from either of those being low. It's your preparedness that matters, so luckily I survived. After a tactical retreat and mushroom eating session, I defeated the rats and found Bob's lost jacket. But there was no mining pass in sight. Also, you can actually hotkey food, but I was too silly to figure that out, and therefore I right-clicked my energy drinks whenever I was thirsty. On day 26, I turned off even more unnecessary above-ground electronics. I earned the Cook 50 Dishes achievement while frying up some delicious rat meat, and thanks to all my recent smelting, I was up to 80 metal. The profit from the mines was treating me nicely too.
Let's just get the workbench level 3. I got a lot of metal, glass I can get. I need to farm a bunch of stone.
And so I crafted another workbench upgrade.
Converts oil from the mines into proper refined fuel.
I could also make greenhouses now, but most importantly,
And a white plate. Okay.
I dug out a new room below and I crafted a few more planters. I experimented with their placement, I smelted a bunch more stone into glass, and I discovered that thanks to my growing trust levels with my trading buddies, the Jetsons had become available to me. I didn't realize it at this point, but they're one of the most important trading partners in the game. I set up the planters in the new room, and I planted cucumber and corn down there. Except as you may have noticed, the electricity was out due to a raging thunderstorm last night, and therefore this new farm was stagnant initially. I had 5 more fuel, and I was addicted to using these mining machines, so even though I didn't know when I'd next lay eyes on more petrol, I used up the last of it. I then paid Bob a visit.
Bob, I got your jacket, dude.
As a reward for my faithful jacket hunting, he gave me a broken revolver, and the location of someone who could probably fix it for me.
Go to the junkyard in the desert at night and you'll meet him.
Apparently this desert dweller was an aware one like us, but he had other issues, whatever that means. But with that, a new location was available for me to visit. And of course, Bob asked for another favor. He said his eyesight was getting a bit dodgy, and he hoped I could find him a pair of glasses. I didn't test his eyes though, so it was going to be unlikely that I'd find lenses with the correct prescription, so chances were I was going to make Bob even more blind. Anyway, after collecting a bit of stone and 25 mushrooms total, I headed home to bed. And in the morning, I investigated how best to cook those mushies. I was able to just add water to make mushroom soup, which sounded decidedly undelicious, but I was happy to take any belly filler.
Mushroom soup restores a lot.
It was nice to see my new farm was lit up. Apparently turning off everything upstairs had allowed for 2 more farm lamps to do their thing. I had a disassembling session, breaking down some rocks and logs, and I paid a visit to the junkyard in the desert.
Big Joe's. Where are you, Big Joe?
For my first magic trick, I made this car teleport and repair itself slightly, but it needed some more repairs, requiring 20 metal. But I was still confused as to the whereabouts of Big Joe.
Oh, it says meet me in the night. Okay.
I spent a couple of hours repairing the car, which earned me an achievement, and now my glorious Preppy-mobile was ready for action.
Where can I can upgrade it? What is going on? Here's Bob. I mean, what's his name? Big Joe. Here's Big Joe. Where can I drive this?
Maybe I shouldn't have used all my fuel down in the mines. I headed over to Big Joe's, where the doggy didn't seem too friendly. I introduced myself and told him that Bob had sent me. I told him Bob was hanging out in a mine. Joe reckoned a mine was a good place to hang out.
It should be safe down there from chemtrails, the hum, and the mind-controlling waves. True.
I gave Joe the revolver, and he agreed to fix it, but he wanted something in return.
With all the waves coming around, I figured I could install some protection in my little shack. You want some aluminium foil? And maybe have some wearable personal protection too. You want a tinfoil hat?
Yeah, he wanted some foil.
Right, tinfoil, the universal protection from mind control, I should have guessed.
I of course promised I'd keep an eye out for precious foil. Also, Joe's junkyard was added to the trading menu. Selling stuff from the mines to Bob had kept my cash flow looking decent, so I bought another book, and then had a session collecting stuff in the forest. When I returned, I read the book.
Got the Hortus Conclusus, Hortus Conclusus, faster plants growth. Nice.
I put some guarana in the dryer, ate some soup, and went to bed.
Let me guess. There's gonna be another blackout next week. Another blackout. It's just blackouts every time.
I harvested my first corn, and I cooked up some marinated corn by putting it in a jar of salty water. My pickaxe was nearly broken, so I bought another, and after making some more energy drinks, I hit up the mines. While there, I earned the achievement to loot 25 boxes. These miners continued providing some stone, ore to smelt, and stuff to sell. I even sold some rock salt to the gourmet, but I was now completely out of fuel. On day 30, I harvested some cucumbers, and like the guarana plants, these were set to regrow and provide more cucumbers, so I of course kept them watered, and my food situation was looking pretty healthy. Now that I had no fuel, I returned to my furniture salesman ways as I sold Nancy a couple of wardrobes.
Yeah, I think the next thing to do is repair the ropeway, right? But I need 3 plastic somehow.
I was a little stuck. I wasn't sure where to find the glasses for Bob, the foil for Joe, or the Geiger counter for the Minuteman. My guess was I'd find at least one of those in level 4 of the forest, but I needed plastic to get there. At least my final haul from this miner was juicy.
Oh, I found a diamond. Ooh.
By this point, the entrance level of the mines had respawned 6 rocks, 30 stone worth once disassembled, so I grabbed all of them.
I mean, I feel like the only thing I can do is buy phones.
That appeared to be my only way to get more plastic, and so I bought 2 phones from the Jetsons. They were $30 each, so it was just as well I'd found a diamond to sell for 104. When I went to bed that night, I earned another achievement.
Survive 1 month, novice prepper. Nice.
My money and my phones arrived in the morning, and today the Jetsons were selling farm lamps instead, so I bought one as they provide 2 plastic when disassembled. I was also suffering a water shortage.
Do I need to get like 6 million buckets? How do I get water faster? I don't know.
The lamp arrived, so I disassembled it, and that, combined with the plastic from the 2 phones, meant I now had enough to repair the ropeway, so I was finally able to progress.
Level 4 of the forest. Traps area. There's some boars.
The first section of level 4 was rather empty. No berries, no logs. The second section had a wolf whose skull I caved in, and then a barrier.
I need an axe from Joe.
A fallen gondola gave me 1 plastic, thanks gondola, and I was able to go 1 section deeper, but that was officially the end of the road for now.
Alright, so I actually can't continue any further until I get an axe.
I'd found some bait in the gondola, so I finally reset the traps once again, and I'd stockpiled the random animal parts collected from those traps. But at this point, I decided to sell them to the hunter, because I was pretty sure there wasn't going to be a crafting use for them. I ordered an axe from Joe, and I thought, you know what, I do love fuel, so I also bought 5 jerry cans at $9 a pop.
Oh, I can sell dried berries for $6. That's pretty good. Hold up, dried berries for $6 is crazy.
Yeah, you can harvest blueberries daily from the forest at no cost, so this seemed like a decent money-making scheme and a worthy use for my dryer. That night, I figured it was time I made a steam generator. You put wood, but no water into this thing, so I don't know where the steam comes from.
I have more electricity. So I mean I can put up another light finally?
Behold, the wall lamps are once more symmetrical thanks to the glory of the steam generator. I collected my goodies from the mail to round out the day. On day 32, the blackout returned to bother me, so it was time to test the true power of the steam generator. How much of my base would it be able to power on its own? I began turning stuff off to see what its limit was. It seemed to be too crap to power even just a couple of farm lamps, so I gave up on it, and had a session disassembling rocks until the agent arrived for his weekly inspection.
I think I should be all good.
A few minutes later, all good indeed.
Oh, we got the 0% suspicion level. That is beautiful to see.
I'd used 5 water a day during the past week, as my farm was quite thirsty, but even that fell below the suspicious limit of 6. The Minuteman mailed a warning that the agent would now also be checking my electricity consumption, but my house was almost always suffering a blackout, so I figured I'd be fine.
Dude, this is actually really cheap. I could have done this a while ago. 50 stone.
I'd felt stuck trying to do the other quests, but apparently the main quest was more achievable than I'd thought. I chose to place the rocket silo in the backyard.
So I can build the silo over there. I just need to build another room to reach it.
I built a little room to connect my base to the silo, and then deep into the night I dug out a big old silo-shaped hole.
This is huge. This is huge. The ultimate plan. Oh yeah.
And so I earned the achievement for building the rocket silo.
Got some mail? Nice timing. Yeah, exactly.
I guess as a reward for my progress, I received some interesting items. 2 greenhouse room upgrades, and a book teaching me how to make greenhouse room upgrades. In the morning, I was still suffering from the blackout, because the weekly outages had evolved. They now lasted for 2 days. This was not good news for the food in my fridge.
It requires 1 upgrade thingo per like single space room, but let's just upgrade this one. Boom. This is now a greenhouse. It literally made it green.
This upgrade means that the plant growing inside the room will grow faster. Not bad. Also, I got an achievement for upgrading a room. Also, that upgrade was useless, for today at least, because of the blackout. Also, I had to munch down about 10 cucumbers, because they were going to go off in my unpowered fridge. It was then time to return to level 4 of the forest, where it appeared the wolves had been multiplying. By the look of it, my axe did more damage than my pickaxe. And then it was time to clear the way.
I like how they didn't bother adding a sound effect for the chopping.
I continued deeper, and I continued chopping, both fallen trees and wild animals. And before long, I was 6 sections deep, and I headed through to the dangerous final section of level 4.
So many wolves. Good thing I hit them all at once.
This was actually quite a juicy wolf loot haul, as they gave me heaps of meat to eat and pelts to sell. During that fight, I think my pickaxe broke, and I randomly learned how to craft one, so that was handy. My reward for annihilating about 50 wolves was a pretty juicy haul of loot, including 6 electronics, another lever, and also I admired a random cage.
It's for wolves, it doesn't work too well.
I was expecting to find something to progress one of my many quests, but nope. By the way, you can see on the right, my next main quest was to begin the next phase of rocket construction, which required an artificial horizon. That was another item I wasn't sure how to get.
2 days of no fridge is so annoying. I got 7 slices of meat though, so that's pretty good.
I sold some dried berries, though they only wanted a max of 3 per day, so it wasn't crazy profitable.
Let's learn how to use fuel more efficiently actually. That sounds really useful. Oh, level 3?
That helped me reach trust level 3 with Bob, so even more books were added to his shop. I'd found a bunch of knives at the end of forest level 4, so I began selling those to Joe 2 per day.
The power is finally back on.
Great news for all Australians. I should mention, between my energy drink production line and food being pretty easy to collect, I was no longer getting low on preparedness very often. Although I guess my cucumbers died during the blackout, so that wasn't helpful. But money earned from trading was ramping up nicely. I bought another skill book, and the reason I'd bought 5 fuel from Joe the other day was because I wanted to go for a drive. Accessing level 4 of the forest hadn't helped me progress any of my current quests, but I hadn't gone for a drive yet. Turns out when you do go for a drive in the desert, you get thrown into a mini game where you have to dodge big rocks and cacti. I immediately crashed straight into a cactus.
Did I just spend 5 fuel to play a minigame dodging cacti?
Fortunately, there was more to it than just the minigame, as I soon arrived at my destination, a random spot in the desert featuring so many snakes.
Screw you, double snake. Ow. I'm pretty sure I'm dead, right? Rattlesnakes are very deadly. Go away, you idiot.
The snakes were kind of hard to hit with the axe, but I eventually vanquished all of the squiggly idiots, and I got a fair bit of meat for my troubles.
Oh, here we go. This is what I'm talking. Oh, there's soup.
There was indeed soup, and inside the chest, some scraps that could be broken down into metal and plastic. I also grabbed some cactus meat.
Prickly but tasty if done properly.
There was some fuel too, but that was about it. But then I spotted something else I could grab.
I found foil. Perfect.
My car was damaged after getting into that fight with the cactus earlier, so I used 3 metal to repair it, and it appeared that if I'd had more fuel, there would have been an option to drive forward. But for now, the only option was to return back to Joe's.
That costs a lot of fuel. It's expensive.
It wasn't night yet, which meant Joe wasn't around, so I headed to the mines to kill some time, and while there I earned the achievement to kill 60 bats. I collected my book from the mail, and with that I absorbed the wisdom of the handy person's handbook, improving my crafting speed. And then I forgot to visit Joe to give him his foil, so his head remained unprotected another day.
Let me guess, another blackout next week? Oh, for goodness sake, dude, why are there always blackouts? It's another 2-day blackout.
I did bunker chores. I bought 2 carpets from the Jetsons because carpet breaks down into textiles. I sold more stuff. I disassembled the carpets when they arrived, and I had a collecting session in the forest just to stock up. That night, I visited Joe.
I have the tin foil for you.
In exchange, Joe returned the revolver to me, now repaired. But beyond that, he had nothing else, though he invited me to visit him again another day.
So, I feel like the only thing I can do is try and get further into the desert.
Would it surprise you to learn that I am a goose, and that I was not nearly as stuck as I thought I was? More on that soon. For now, after purchasing some more fuel for Joe, out into the desert I went. I cruised through the funky minigame.
They really should have built this road where rocks and cactuses were not.
And arrived somewhere in the desert to take on more snakes. This time round I was at the entrance to a mine, where some loot awaited me. More scrap was good, and a couple of gold wasn't bad for selling, but overall that trip probably wasn't even worth the fuel I'd used.
And that's all I can do here?
Once again, I couldn't drive forward, as I lacked the fuel, so I kept buying more fuel. I had a disassembling session, including ripping up 2 posters I'd bought from the Jetsons. That yielded more textiles, and combined with what I'd gotten from the carpets yesterday, I was able to make warm clothes. They were going to be useful deep in the mines.
Oh, I can buy plastic today. Hang on. I don't have enough money. There's 5 in stock. I could have got more.
I needed 20 plastic for the level 5 ropeway repair, so this was a great discovery because I only had 7 so far. I crafted some furniture for Nancy, and stayed up late waiting for the money to be delivered so I could max out the day's plastic purchase from Bob.
I wonder if there's some other way to get plastic that I'm just completely missing.
There is a certain man named Sergey that could have helped me with the plastic, if only I'd leveled up my trust with him a little more.
Is Bob selling plastic? Oh, Bob's selling plastic again. Boom, 5 more plastic.
Things were looking up as far as plastic is concerned. I spotted that the gourmet was offering a juicy $21 for dried meat, so I whacked some meat in the dryer. I continued buying fuel, and that pushed my trust with Joe up to level 2. And then I realized I had 2 useless farm lamps on the wall, and when disassembled they returned 4 plastic, and suddenly I had 21 of the good stuff. Also, my meat had dried.
The gourmet place only wants 3 max a day, but that's fine. $63 is huge. Alright, we're getting a little bit of a something moving along here. So this is expensive, right? Alright, 10 electronics is absolutely crazy. 20 plastic is crazy as well.
That used up all of the electronics I'd been able to scrape together from small finds here and there. And of course, we all witnessed the great mission it was to secure 20 plastic. But finally, I reached level 5 of the forest.
The final repair is 30 electronics. Holy dooly.
I headed down to level 2, where my traps were sitting, because the discovery that dried meat was quite profitable had inspired me. I wanted to trap some meaty animals, and level 5 was the habitat of a greater variety of higher value animals, so I figured it was the right spot to lay the traps.
Trap construction is only 1 wood.
So perhaps a bigger trap operation was in order.
For now though, I'm in the deep dark woods, man.
As I ventured deeper, there were logs to chop and wolves to chop too. I was pleased about the wolves because I wanted to dry their
I
meat.
feel like this game does the trading well, and there's a real sense of scarcity around certain materials you need.
Deeper I went, and it was more of the same. Logs and wolves, wolves and logs, and some rats.
Give me some good loot, baby. Lunar tuna.
I'll take as many gondolas as the forest god provides, yes please. But when both my axe and pickaxe were nearly broken and the clock struck midnight, I decided it was time to call it a day. I'd found some bait while adventuring, so I set these traps, I ordered a new axe, and in the morning I wept bitter tears, because another 2-day blackout had arrived to torment me.
I want the generator to get my fridge going, but it's not working.
I discovered Tony the tailor sometimes pays a higher price for certain goods. I felt good about my money-making abilities, so I continued buying my daily limit of 5 fuel, and I wandered around turning every electronic device off. I turned the stove off last, and that did it.
Oh, I think it's working. Okay, I turned literally everything off except for the fridge. I think I just fixed the fridge.
I had, except I wanted to make some energy drinks, so I powered it off for a bit so I could turn the stove on, and spent ages making quite a few beverages. I crafted a pickaxe and bought some bait from the Huntress, which brought my trust with her up to level 2. That unlocked a bunch of new bait options, including exotic bait. I bought 3 of those, along with 5 more plastic, before crafting 6 simple traps.
Yeah, I think I have to buy the plastic every time it shows up at Bob's because plastic is just rare.
When I collected from my 3 traps, they all broke, so it's just as well I brought 6 freshies. They were soon all set. I recalled that Joe wanted to see me again, so I dropped by to say hi.
Chupacabra is missing.
Big Joe's beloved canine had disappeared, and he wanted me to help track him down. Apparently the dog was somewhere in the forest. By this point in the playthrough, it felt like my main activity was playing trading games via the letterbox, but I also used day 39 to visit the forest. Alas, I'd returned too soon. My traps hadn't yet sprung. I fluffed around for a bit, I don't know what I was doing, but by midday one of the traps had claimed a victim.
A tusk.
Apparently, I'd managed to snag a boar.
Oh, you buy a tusk for 36.
My nostrils detect another juicy money-making scheme. I began crafting more traps. I then unequipped all my suspicious accessories and tolerated another inspection. A clean report card once again.
The agent happy buff. Your agent's report was positive, your preparedness decreases slower. Okay.
I received another warning letter from the Minuteman. Apparently, the agency planned to inspect inside my cupboards from now on, so I needed to be careful. I kept all my loot down in the bunker anyway, so I wasn't worried. I collected from my traps, placed an army of extra traps even though I didn't have that much bait, and then I rushed through level 5. I was soon 7 sections deep, and then 8, and 9, and the level was still going. There was a whole dang cabin here for me to loot.
Hello? Oh, no way, dude. This has got crazy resources. Some antlers. I think the antlers sell for like 60. Some fuel.
Some soup, and a chair a bunch of topper pallets, which I figured I might as well grab to disassemble later.
Wait, I can grab the whole... Wait, what? I can grab the whole wooden chest? How did I not realize this the whole time? Why am I so stupid?
I was right at the entrance to the final section, but I'd once again left it too late, so I headed home and made a killer profit selling animal parts. On day 40, after dumping my loot and turning my stuff back on because the blackout was finally over, and indulging in the usual trades, I arrived at the forest around midday. And guess what? I got distracted by more busy work. I think I was excited that I was making money like never before.
Traps get you meat, which you dry and sell for 21. It gets you tusks, which you sell for 36. I think it's got a chance getting you antlers, which sell for like 60.
Despite my preoccupation, I made it to the end of level 5 before midnight for once. I engaged in a fight with many wolves, and my axe broke, so that threw a spanner in the works, meaning I lost a fair chunk of health, but I was able to switch to the pickaxe to finish off the melee. I learned how to craft an axe for my trouble.
It's like after you break enough of them, you learn how to make them.
And at long last, I had arrived at the site of the plane crash Jenny spoke of.
Ooh! Photo depicts a pilot in an airplane. Wait, is it Mr. Prepper? It looks like it. Huh? 4 electronics is huge. 10 metal, 5 plastic is nice. Access card to somewhere. Fort Observer. 1 artificial horizon. An advanced gyroscopic flight instrument. An essential component for building a rocket. Okay. Kind of looks like me. Wait, what the heck? Jenny just appeared out of nowhere.
That photo did indeed depict me, Mr. Prepper. I was the pilot of the crashed aeroplane. I guess I lost my memory in the crash.
Honey, you're not alone. Some people in town don't remember entire decades. Some have trouble recognizing their friends. And you at least have a plane crash to blame. It's a military aircraft. Does that mean I was or am on their side? One of them? Oh no.
Jenny made a good point. I didn't behave like a government type anymore, and they were the ones that had shot me down, so perhaps I'd been fleeing their tyranny.
So you were once one of them or not? Does it really matter now? What matters is you're a capable young lad.
Leave the past behind. The future is yours for the taking. All that good stuff. But what a twist.
Well that's crazy. I was one of them, huh? I didn't find the dog here though. Maybe the dog's in level 4?
I'd explored level 4 before getting the Chupacabra request from Big Joe, so that was a good assumption. But for all the drama, it's clear that my heart was with the Prophet.
Boom, look at that money, dude. 254. I'm back up to 17 plastic as well. Huge.
I used some of that wealth to buy another skill book. I killed time disassembling while it was being delivered, and then gave it a read.
Reach max level of strength. Very nice. I can carry 180 max now. Just realized there's a bicycle there.
I continued in the groove of my daily activities before paying Jenny a visit because the quest told me to.
There's glasses on Bob. Could I ask you a favor? So it's about the other Bob, you know, from the mine, the biped.
And that is how I accidentally found some glasses for Bob. I had to take them from Bob. You know what I mean? Bob the plant graciously gave them to me.
Is that why I needed to visit Jenny? No, I needed to visit Jenny for something else, I think.
I asked Jenny if she had any of that special anti-sleep mixture ready, but not yet. She needed more fruit.
She needs 99 guarana? Holy dooly. Alright, well, we gotta save up guarana.
But it was good to realize the glasses Bob had requested were with Jenny the whole time. I could have progressed that quest about 100 years ago. Before taking the glasses to Bob, I headed to level 4 of the forest, following my hunch that I'd find the dog there.
Oh, you got stuck in the cage. That's right, I saw this cage earlier.
I freed Chupacabra from the cage, and off he ran to return to Big Joe.
Alright, we're on the move now. We're getting some quests done.
I visited Bob and handed over the glasses I'd stolen from his pot plant counterpart.
Hey, glasses, Bob. Yeah, Bob.
Bob whacked him on, and with that he was once again seeing in 2020.
I think Bob and Jenny used to be lovers. They lost each other at some point, and then Jenny's gone crazy and she's replaced Bob with Bob the pot plant.
Bob opened up a little, talking of how he hadn't believed the government would actually enforce their censorship laws. But they had, taking all of his books and his job as a teacher too. He'd gone underground, literally, to escape the agency's eye. He also warned me not to go to level 5 of the mines, as experiments involving hydrogen-based bombs had once been conducted down there. Apparently there were still hydrogen containers lying around.
He told me not to go to level 5 of the mine, and now I have a quest to go to level 5 of the mine.
I then headed to Joe's, and after my discovery of pot plant Bob's glasses, I was looking at the scene a little more intently.
Geiger counter.
So here was another thing I'd completely failed to notice earlier, the Geiger counter for the Minuteman's request. I asked if I could have it, and Joe was worried I'd been exposed to radiation, or aliens, but I told him my friend wanted it.
Maybe he knows his stuff. Is he connected to government services? That's what I was thinking, Joe.
Joe handed it over, for which I was grateful, and I then talked to him about the fortunate return of Chupacabra.
I found an access card with Miracleville Mining Company. Yeah, there we go.
And with that, I now had access to level 4 of the mines. That night, I sent the Geiger counter to the Minuteman. In the morning, I received a reply with his thanks, and advice that I was going to need an AI rocket module in order to finish off the rocket. I harvested guarana, but did not dry it this time because I needed to save up 99 for Jenny, and I had a disassembling and furniture salesman kind of day.
Level 4 of the mines. I'm cold, so let's put on my warm clothes.
This level had another miner, and I found something juicy.
Ooh, oil.
I fueled up the miner, because presumably it would yield more oil, and presumably that oil could be refined into fuel. So theoretically, this level 4 miner could become a never-ending source of fuel. I also juiced up the level 2 and level 1 miners. I then visited Joe again, to ask if he knew anything about the Fort Observer military base. He said he might know something, but he didn't quite trust me yet, so I needed to win him over before he'd divulge.
Have you heard the rumors about the radio broadcast from, you know, the south?
I guess Mexico was sending out a transmission, but it was garbled. So perhaps if I headed south in my car, I could get close enough to hear the transmission clearly. But first I needed to help repair the car's radio by providing 5 electronics.
I have exactly 5 electronics. Alright, lock it in.
Joe said he'd repair the radio, and he asked me to come back later. On day 43, I crafted a refinery out of 15 metal and 5 plastic. I popped it down here, and it immediately overloaded my power setup. But when I turned off a lamp, that created the margin necessary, and so I was able to pop the 2 oil in there to be refined into fuel. Meanwhile, dried meat was still making me big money, and my traps were popping off. And not only could I buy 5 fuel per day, with the discovery of oil, I was now set to refine my own fuel. So these miners were about to become another element of my daily schemes.
Oh, and we got a bunch of oil we can refine here. great news.
I put 4 fuel in and it had already popped 8 oil back out, and it was still going. So this was definitely gonna have me swimming in fuel before long. The miners also stocked me up with iron ore, stone, a bit of gold, and some random salt. And here I go exploring the depths of level 4. Even picking away at the rocks down here yielded up more oil. I took on about 300 rats with just a pickaxe, which was a bad choice, especially once some of the rats flanked me and I was getting nibbled from all sides. But after that chaos, I claimed the level 5 mining pass. I cleared out the rest of level 4's loot, filling up the elevator's storage as I went, and this was a truly juicy haul. I took as much home with me as I could, and of course kept the refinery working full time. And with all that I was able to sell to Bob, I was officially rich.
So is this gonna give me fuel or not? Like, what's going on here?
The refinery appeared to be using up the oil, but where was the fuel going? I soon realized it was automatically being placed into the fuel drums. Very nice.
We got fuel coming out our butt now, dude.
Some of the fuel even ended up in the fuel drum in my backyard, so I figured I'd better move that downstairs, or else the agent might get angry during his next inspection.
I think this might be the only way to get electronics, man. I think I just have to buy phones.
I'd used up the last of my electronics repairing the car's radio, so I figured I'd better use any means available to acquire more. I earned the achievement to catch 50 animals with traps. I earned another achievement when I read The Secret Gardener to max out my gardening skill, and I kept busy amassing wealth for my underground empire. The amount of iron ore stored in the elevator ballooned above 60. Remember when I used to order boxes from Sergey to get metal? Good times.
Oh, it's a bit purple down here, you know? Oh, Bob's down here.
I fueled up the level 5 miner because I was of course curious to see what it would yield.
Hey, it's you. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? You said you never went down here. And where does this door lead to?
There was a little tension in the air regarding level 5 of the mines. I admitted that I was drawn to level 5 because I wanted the hydrogen for my rocket. It would probably be useful as fuel.
Okay, so I guess it's time for my part of the deal. But remember, not a word to anyone or people might die.
With that dramatic warning, he walked his silly hunchback down the tunnel.
What is this secret project, Bob? What? Sleepless member. What? I see you're not the only one coming down here. No, there's more of us. We call ourselves the Sleepless. We fight the mind control measures the government forces upon us. Ever notice you will always fall asleep at 3 a.m. no matter what? Ever notice concentration problems, headaches, faulty memory? We're sure it's the thing in the sky, the brazen serpent. Supposed to be protecting us, bless the president. But it's sending waves that mess with our brains, making us complacent. We're trying to overcome the 3 a.m. reset. We believe it's the key to mind control. Jenny
had been sending her anti-sleep remedies here, and there'd been mixed success so far. But the resistance movement was doing anything it could to overcome the government's mind control efforts. You see that red thing sending out pulses in the sky? That, I believe, is the brazen serpent something rather that Bob was talking about. In the morning, I received mail from the Minuteman. Despite my precautions, there is a certain agent who has taken interest in me in my recent investigations. Plant him an illegal item and I'll denounce him to the agency. To get the government off his back, the Minuteman wanted me to enlist the postman to put condemning contraband in this agent's house.
Should I be trusting the Minuteman? Like, I don't know what's going on here exactly.
Now that it was clear the mines were going to provide plenty of oil, I stopped my daily purchase of fuel from Joe, but I continued buying plastic from Bob. I was now up to 58 guarana, more than halfway, and I figured I'd check in Bob's domain for any weird items I could yoink to help with the Minuteman's plan. Bob had officially moved down to level 5, and that meant I was free to yoink something else.
I can steal his computer. That's great news.
Level 5 didn't yield as much oil as level 4, but it yielded quite a few gems, so perhaps it was going to be helpful for money making.
Bob, you got anything extremely illegal for me?
This weird head on the table caught my attention. It was exactly the type of item I was after.
Oh, it's his bless and he looks really ugly? Okay, it's a caricature. I love it.
An unflattering caricature of His Holiness the President. Extremely illegal stuff. To celebrate that find, I disassembled Bob's computer and enjoyed the 4 electronics it provided.
Mr. Postman, I have a small request for you.
The postman wanders around like a complete dingus. He's got a weirdo rictus grin on his big head, and he's constantly muttering to himself. So I wouldn't have picked him as a rebel, but Bob claimed he was no friend of the agency. And sure enough, the big fella was willing to plant the bobblehead figurine of the president in the pesky agent's house, despite the extreme risk he'd be assuming. So I gave him the contraband and sent him off on his mission. When I sold a buttload of stuff to Bob that night, I reached max trust with him, which earned me an achievement, and it added yet more skill books to his offerings. I did some late night running around, including a trip to try and empty all the loot from the elevator, and the postman came back having already completed his mission. The legend works quick.
So the Minuteman just needs to frame him now. I got $452. I'm popping off.
I'd also reached max trust with the Huntress by this point, and she was now selling Epic Bait and Supreme Bait for $14 each. The Supreme was fast and effective, and the Epic was extra effective. I endured another inspection, and the agent found 3 bait in my cupboard. How'd that get there?
Since when was there bait in this cupboard? Okay, well, Whoops.
I gave the expensive bait a try, and bought a rather expensive skill book for $238. It was The Art of Negotiation 2, and when I read it in the morning, trading prices improved by a further 5%, and I earned another achievement. And traps and mining, you know the drill. Get it? Drill? Literally, drill.
So basically, if I keep level 2 running for iron ore, so I can get metal, level 4 running for essentially infinite fuel, because 4 fuel turns into like 20.
And level 5, because it digs up lots of gems.
Get my money up. Get my money up.
It was about time I explored the rest of level 5, so off I went.
What is that? That's the hydrogen, yeah? Also known as rocket fuel, depends who you ask. Okay, come on.
And I once again took on 3,000 rats with just a pickaxe, and I was forced to flee.
So many rats. Dude, why am I climbing up? Did you see that? What on earth?
I think my ladder climbing went a little funny there. It was all good though, I had a fair bit of preparedness to spare. But I figured now was a good time to test out a grenade.
Use. Oh crap. Oh, that actually worked.
Turns out rats are allergic to grenades. Meanwhile, I took 0 damage, even when they blew up right next to me. Also, there were lots of rats, but I got there eventually and was able to claim the mining pass to the mysterious level. By the way, I emptied the elevator storage 2 days ago, and it was already full again. I headed down to check out the mysterious level. It appeared to be infinite.
Yeah, it looks like it just keeps going. So if you want to just keep grinding out mining stuff, you just go nuts.
I didn't really have any use for such a deep dive, but it felt good to have conquered the mines. I bought a book about building, which taught me how to build rooms faster and earned me another achievement. And when I went to bed, I got another achievement, accidentally.
Eat only meat for 7 days. I didn't even plan that, dude. What the heck? How did I not eat a single blueberry in that time? Really?
I continued diligently profiteering. The improved bait was good at catching lots of boars. And on day 48, I was quite close to my target of 99 guarana. So I figured I'd go pick the rest from the forest.
Dude, I just realized something. You can click on this to go straight to Jenny. Every time I've been going to Jenny, I've been running all the way through level 2, which to be fair isn't actually that long. All right, Jenny, I got your ridiculous amount of guarana, my friend.
99 red fruit for you, Mrs. Granny.
It should be enough to keep the whole town awake.
With that, I had completed Jenny's quest line, and she promised to send me a powerful drug in the mail, and I claimed another achievement. My money-making endeavors may appear to be overkill, but I needed all the rather expensive skill books for an achievement, so I wasn't doing it purely as a consequence of addiction.
Dude, sell me stuff that can be broken into electronics.
The Jetsons did not sell phones every day, which was rude. But then I realized I wasn't at max trust with Sergey. Maybe he'd sell some useful stuff if I leveled him up. So I bought heaps of stuff from him and hit level 4.
Oh, now I can get round blue box, which gives plastic. Oh, that's good.
Sadly, there were no electronics on offer though. And it was a bit rough to learn I could have been getting metal plus plastic for cheaper than the plastic I'd been buying from Bob. But enough dilly and way too much dally. It was time to use my great bounty of fuel to make a trip south in my car. One driving minigame later, I arrived somewhere, and I immediately tested to see if the radio could pick up the signal clearly.
I'm getting eaten by wolves, dude.
No, not a clear signal. Also, rabies. I claimed some loot and hopped back in the car.
Boost the car when the car goes up the ramp and jump safely.
The driving minigame had evolved with the addition of some glorious boosted jumps. These ramps now showed up occasionally, mixed in with the stuff I had to swerve around.
A snake!
Once again, the radio signal wasn't clear, so it was time to loot.
Lots of good loot, but they kind of just refused to give me electronics.
And hop back in the car. I don't know what happened on this drive, but I was suddenly incapable of dodging rocks. I ran into 2 in a row, and then I pressed the wrong button when driving up this ramp. So the boosts never came, and I plopped the car into some cacti. I made it through, but my car was nearly dead. And it's important to note that the driving minigame is extremely easy, so it's hard to comprehend exactly what went wrong there. But it's fair to say some loose goose behavior played into it. Anyway, lots of wolves, another failure with the radio, and more loot. My car was nearly destroyed, so I repaired it before continuing. On this minigame, they spiced it up. This cactus and rock were quite close together, so I got outsmarted. And then they put a cactus right next to the road, so I thought I needed to dodge it, but I actually swerved into it.
Oh, that's a big snake. Dude, what the heck? I can't hit it?
It was difficult to hit these long boys with my axe, but I managed to defeat one, and when the second one showed up, I figured it was time to whip out my revolver.
Just shoot the snakes. Shoot them.
Shoot them, indeed. I let loose bullet after bullet, reloading after every 6. And somewhere in there, I earned the achievement to fire 6 bullets in 3 seconds.
Dude, nerf the snakes. Oh, here we go. Brazen Serpent, Tool, series of terrorists ready at the borders have to suffer. Getting close.
This spot was the side of a rather large crashed aeroplane, so that was cool. But it was getting late, so I hoped the next location would get me the radio signal I was after. In the darkness, the obstacles were lit up, so that was merciful, especially because I hadn't had time to repair, so if I made one more mistake, the car would be kaput. But I made it, and I used up the last of my bullets, taking on many foes. But at long last, I was far enough south to receive a clear signal.
Attention, all citizens of the United States of America, your government is lying to you. You reckon? The Brazen Serpent satellite is not a medical project. Brazen Serpent is a
mind control tool. Brazen Serpent causes lack of motivation, memory problems, and vulnerability to manipulation. A series of terrorist attacks is thought to be linked with Brazen Serpent. Revolt against your government or defect to our side. We have help for you ready at the borders. You do not have to suffer. Attention all citizens, and that repeats, okay? Wow. It all makes sense, but damn, this sounds serious. And it seems at least one of Joe's conspiracy theories was right. I wonder how he'll take it. That confirmed it. The government's Brazen Serpent in the sky was indeed exerting mind control powers upon the population of America. I returned to Joe's, but it was getting rather late, so I saved informing him of my success until tomorrow. The blackout returned on day 50, so I made another steam generator, and I hoped to keep the fridge and the dryer on this time round, but nope, it wasn't enough, so I just stuck with the fridge. I'd managed to scrape together 10 electronics, so I used them to craft the final workbench upgrade, which unlocked some new crafting options such as the freezer and some fuel automation machines. I disassembled the crap I'd found yesterday, and the freezer only cost plastic and metal, so I crafted one. But I soon discovered a problem. 2 generators cannot power the freezer. So I made a 3rd generator, and that did it. The freezer was up and running. I grabbed all the food from the fridge and moved it into the freezer. And where the fridge only slows the rate of spoilage, stuff in the freezer never goes off. So this was a great upgrade. This guy needs to sell me flamin' telephones, please? I had over $700 thanks to trapping and mining, so it was time to buy some books. I read Deterrence and Retaliation, which improved my combat skill. I read Eat, Nuke, Love, Healthy Kitchen, which meant I would now receive more sustenance from food. And I read the second crafting skill book to improve crafting speeds even more. That reading session resulted in 2 more achievements knocked over. I bought 42 ammo, as much as I was allowed, and I kept busy with the usual, before telling Joe about what I'd discovered via radio in the desert. The waves. I told you, Prepper. Nice tinfoil hat, by the way. That is actually the most gangster tinfoil hat I've ever seen. I told him Mexico said we could flee to their side, but he said he was too old for that, though he encouraged me to escape and take the fight to the government. And with that, I had Joe's full trust. He was ready to talk to me about the Fort Observer military base. He didn't know much about what it was, but he knew where it was. It's too long to make it in one go before the 3 a.m. knocks me out. Oh, I gotta find a way to stay awake. Well, I've already found one. Jenny's hooked me up. Suddenly, Bob, Jenny, and Joe's quest lines had culminated in one big adventure to come. Go to Fort Observer. Check out this profit. To cap off the day, I spent most of my money on yet more books. One was a guide to prepping, slowing the rate at which my preparedness drained. One was the level 2 combat skill, and one improved my sleep, meaning I'd restore more stamina from napping and sleeping. That was also 3 more achievements. With the rest of day 52, I disassembled, and I did my best to earn back some of the money I'd used up last night. That night, the Brazen Serpent seemed more obnoxious in the sky than ever before. On day 53, it was more of the same. I passed another inspection with flying colors, and I was refining so much oil from the mines into fuel that I had to make another fuel barrel in which to store it all. And on day 54, I grabbed some energy drinks and dried meat, fueled up the car, and hit drive to Fort Observer. This took me into almost 4 minutes worth of the glorious driving minigame. Except I made a mistake. I forgot to repair the car after my terrible driving last time, so it was one mistake away from destruction. As established, the trip to Fort Observer was going to take a long time, a day and a night, so the drive was long. I survived most of it, but as night descended, my failure to repair cost me, because I ran into a cactus like an idiot. Well, that was a wasted day. I headed home and slept. And on day 55, I remembered to repair, and I tried again. My idiotic driving seemed to be a thing of the past, as I made 0 mistakes this time. As night deepened, I guess I downed the anti-sleep drug Jenny had given me, so I just kept on going through the usual 3 a.m. pass-out time. And soon the sun began rising on a new day in the desert. And then I arrived at Fort Observer. Okay. I made it. It's inevitable that upon arriving anywhere in the desert, you will be assaulted by many snakes and wolves. So after dealing with that, I had a look around. That is definitely a few dishes. Now, what I'm after here is a heck of a lot of electronics, please. I was about to unravel the government conspiracy and my own forgotten past, but all I cared about were electronics. Welcome to Fort Observer. This is Ellipse, the base's security AI. Bless the president. I used the access card I'd recovered from the plane crash. Identity confirmed. Welcome to Fort Observer, Mr. Prepper. Please leave all unauthorized items outside before entering. And so I placed everything, except for my food, into the deposit box, and I was allowed entry into Fort Observer. There were quite a few vehicles lined up here. Vehicles galore. The planes had teeth. Soon I arrived at a door leading into the mountain. This place was eerily familiar. I headed down the passage. A mixture of metal, rust, and some chemicals. It's oddly familiar. Yes, give me these. It won't let me grab it.
I want it.
Sadly, the AI was resistant to my thievery.
Dude, it gives 4 electronics. I need it.
Dr. Prepper. Except the AI stole my money, so I couldn't afford any. I continued down the hallway, where there was a rather large photo on the wall, and I believe that might be me. The memories were beginning to return. Further along was a miniature of the Brazen Serpent satellite, and a blueprint looking something rather too. I then walked through to find what I guess was the main control room, with blinking lights and monitors all over the place. Also, there was absolutely no one here. Also, it'd be nice if I could yoink some of those monitors and rip the electronics out of them, but no, that was not permitted. I continued right, where I found an open door, which I entered.
What is this? Grab the floaty ball. Wait, what? What is that? The AI core. If I disassemble it, it gives me the rocket control module. But I have to trick the AI. What does it say? My quest is to find a way to trick AI to release you with the control module.
As soon as I'd grabbed the AI core, the door had slammed shut behind me, so it wasn't going to be that easy to steal. Joy of joys, I was able to grab this computer.
Oh, can I disassemble here? That's good. Or maybe I can disassemble the AI core and trick it.
There was a backpack here, so I grabbed it and popped it on, and I grabbed another computer from the floor along with some loot from these chests and yet another computer.
There's so many backpacks here. Oh, there's a big fat shotgun. Oh, it's a rifle. Oh, if I just put the ball back in, if I put the case back in. Did I bamboozle it? Doesn't work without inside parts. Come up with some kind of replacement.
I'd taken the AI module out of the case, but I needed to shove something else in there in order to fool the system. Thankfully, I'd come up with a recipe for a fake AI core. I disassembled the 2 computers I'd found, but I still did not have enough electronics to make the fake core.
There must be one more computer I can disassemble somewhere.
There was, but it was very sneaky and I failed to notice it. So I rebuilt the original AI core and popped it in there so I could head back out and see if there was anything else to find. There was indeed one more room to the right.
What the heck? Since when can I go this way? These instruments, this test chamber, it all rings a bell. Why? I think I remember. Like a scene from another life. Animals, dogs, in test chambers bombarded with waves. Dogs attacking other dogs like they're turned rabid instantly. Later the dogs are sitting next to the killed ones, still bloodied, but now docile and empty-eyed.
Mr. Prepper still seemed confused as to why he remembered all this. But by this point, it is beyond obvious. Clearly, I once worked in this troubling facility where they tested mind control devices on dogs. I returned to the AI core room and finally spotted the sneaky fella.
Oh, there's one more hidden here. I didn't see it.
But it wouldn't let me grab it. I had to take the AI core out first, so I did that, and then I was free to collect the 4th computer. I disassembled it, and now I had the materials required to make the fake AI core. I disassembled the real AI core again, and put together the fake AI core at last. I popped it into the magical thingo here, and that was the beginning of some serious AI rage.
Hello, it's me, Ellipse, Fort Observer Security AI. I don't like what you've just done. Tried to trick you, huh? Fine, you can pass now. Come on, I'm not angry at all. That sounds suspicious.
And so I was able to leave the room with the rocket AI module safely tucked away in my backpack. But of course, I wasn't quite out of trouble just yet. As I made my way back towards the control room area, the AI's plan for me was revealed.
Huh? Now you will be eliminated as a security threat. Oh dear. I just want to grab the monitors. I don't really care about anything else.
Now, I'm going to be very honest about what happened next. This was one of the most confusing experiences I've ever had in gaming. To start, even though I was just threatened with elimination, nothing happened.
I'm so confused, dude.
Eventually, I poked this computer, and that appeared to do damage to the network of computers and the AI, judging by the bar on the big monitors there.
Keep using the computers.
And with one more computer poke, that was phase 1 complete, I think. The system appeared to power down momentarily, but then it fired back up again and the health bar looking thing returned, bigger and more full. The AI was angry, and this was effectively a boss fight, but I didn't really comprehend that. Rocks began falling from above, so I dodged them.
What is going on? I'm quite confused.
And then I had the opportunity to poke some more computers to deal damage to the nefarious AI. After I dealt a bit of damage, it went angry mode and began caving the roof in on my head again. This went on for some time, and I haven't commented on it because it didn't bother me until now, but the controls in this game can be a little bit clunky. For the most part, it wasn't really an issue, but in this fight here, it became quite annoying.
I think I'm in a fight with a rock-throwing AI. That's the vibe I'm getting.
And so I poked many monitors while many rocks fell on my head. This second phase went on for too long, and then I thought I was done.
Dude, what am I doing wrong here? Okay, you'll be met with fire and fury.
Yeah, there was another phase, beginning with a rather long period of rocks falling from above.
Is this actually still going? What am I doing? I'm so confused. Keeps throwing computers at me. Dude, get the chair out of the way. Oh, dude, this is actually so annoying. I'm gonna lose this fight because it's one of the weirdest things I've ever done. Like, I'm clicking on stuff and nothing's happening.
What a glorious boss fight. I guess this AI was left in charge to protect the facility once Fort Observer was decommissioned after the successful launch of the Brazen Serpent. And here I was to ruin its day. I got there eventually.
Please, for the love of all that is good, thank you. And now I can grab these? Yes.
And just like that, my rage at the fight was washed away, as I was finally able to claim a bunch of delicious computers, with their sweet, sweet electronics. I managed to carry 6 total, 24 electronics worth. I could have fit more in if I dropped some other stuff, but I'm a goose. But anyway, I was done with my adventure to Fort Observer, and the rocket AI module was mine. I grabbed my stuff from out front and drove back to Joe's.
We did it, Joe. I gotta go home and sleep though, can't chat. Oh dear, the postman is missing.
That's a new one, and the length of these weekly calamities was now blown out to 4 days. The postman being MIA for that long was going to be devastating for my cash flow.
What are you doing on my back door, Bob, you big dingus?
Bob was being a backyard lurker, and he seemed serious.
I'm serious because I have a serious proposition to you on behalf of the Sleepless.
Bob knew that I was close to my goal of launching the rocket, and of course a rocket flying up out of nowhere was going to be quite a spectacle.
We used the chaos to distribute leaflets, put some graffiti, give away some of our anti-sleep mixture. We have long suspected that the mind control is weaker when you experience strong emotions or when something very unusual happens. That's why we believe the Operation Awakening synchronized with your launch would nudge some people out of stupor.
The Sleepless Resistance wanted to add some more insomniacs to their cause. Fair enough, I'll help. He gave me a signal switch to turn on in my room the moment I was ready to launch, which would let him know that it was time to strike. Also, despite the postman's temporary disappearance, I received some mail from the Minuteman.
I regret to inform you that while our small sabotage has worked out brilliantly, Agent Fitzpatrick will never bother any citizens again. I am in a dire situation now.
Even though we'd successfully ruined that nosy agent's life, the Minuteman was forced into hiding. He asked me to send him some canned, long-lasting food. Sadly, with 4 days of no letterbox, I wasn't going to be able to send him soup anytime soon. I picked up what I'd left in the boot of the car, I disassembled, and I got to work on phase 2 of the rocket build, which I actually could have done ages ago as it only cost 60 metal and 20 plastic, as well as the artificial horizon I'd collected from the crashed plane in the forest. But here it goes, a lovely rocket-looking framework was built in the silo. Once it was done, magical mail appeared in the letterbox, and I learned what was needed for phase 3 of the rocket build.
I definitely needed those electronics. 20 electronics, 40 metal, hydrogen. 2 room upgrade, factory. Crafting things is faster thanks to this upgrade. Pump house installs an extended water supply in a room, can be used for collecting water more effectively.
Dude, what is that? Someone's house is on the move.
There's all sorts of random stuff getting dragged around now.
I don't know if these weird flybys had been happening the whole time and I just hadn't noticed, but it was good stuff. On day 58, I kept busy around the bunker. And on day 59, I did some rearranging. And I decided I might as well turn my workbench room into a factory using the upgrade thingos I'd received in the mail. This increased crafting speed in that room even further. I crafted a bunch of shelves and began a little fuel setup down in this lowest room. And I used 4 of my precious electronics to craft a generator. I placed it down here next to my many fuel barrels, but I didn't actually use it, so I'm not sure what the point of it was. But as you can see, the refinery was now down here too. I tried to expand my storage in the workbench room using shelves, but then I realized I could just stack the chests on top of each other. I also moved the 3 steam generators down to the lower room, which I now thought of as the power production room. Of course, I kept up the usual tasks, like brewing drinks, and on day 61, my beloved letterbox was back in action, so I resumed trading. I rearranged the storage yet again so that it hugged the left wall, because this was neater and allowed space to center the workbench nicely. And it also meant the light was no longer awkward.
Okay, that's much better. I can actually see in here.
And I was now able to see exactly what the Minuteman was after. He was pretty flexible, basically any canned food. I had one random canned thing in my freezer, so I sold him that first. It pushed the trust up just a little.
I think I need to get his trust all the way to level 6, so we need to do a bunch more.
I looked into cooking canned stuff myself, but that seemed like a lot of work. However, the supermarket did not disappoint. I figured I'd just buy soup and field rations daily until the quest was done. I also finally noticed that there were some higher level cookbooks available at the Gourmet, so I purchased those. Once the canned stuff arrived, I of course sent it off to the Minuteman, and I actually made a profit, so that was a bonus. I then did some reading. I'd bought a Frosty book from Bob.
Read a book about surviving in low temperatures. That's another achievement, and I read all the skills books apparently. Very nice.
At long last, I had leveled up every skill, a momentous achievement. And I read the cookbooks, expanding my list of recipes nicely. Not that I actually cooked any of these recipes, but it's good to pretend. Also, I forgot to mention, I earned the Survive 2 months achievement a couple of days ago.
Yeah, there's no more... Wait, what? No more inspections.
It's true, usually the inspections are marked on the calendar, but nope, I was now free. I had no idea why, but I was grateful.
Let's get building. 20 electronics, 1 hydrogen. Build.
The electronics from Fort Observer's many computers came in clutch as I spent the day working on phase 3 of the rocket. Once complete, I once again received instant mail.
Okay, the rocket's looking good. What's the next step? 20 electronics again, 10 textile rocket control module.
I still didn't have a steady way to collect electronics, and I sadly could not go back to Fort Observer.
This upgrade will make the room perfect for storing food. Who cares? Powerhouse. The generator will work better in this room, that's good.
I sold the Man of Minute a bunch of food, and with that the quest was knocked over, and I guess he wanted a rifle next. I was still holding a rifle that I'd stolen from Fort Observer, so I was able to do that one immediately. And then he wanted bullets, so I sold him what I had, 50 total, but that wasn't quite enough. I then belatedly received an explanation for the Minuteman's latest requests.
The final request, they're coming for him in his hideout. I need to be prepared.
Sounds like Minute Dingus was in for an explosive time in the near future. Meanwhile, I had a lot of fuel piling up, even though I had no use for it because I ended up disassembling the generator to get my 4 electronics back. And since there appeared to be no more inspections on the calendar, I figured it was safe to disassemble my phone, radio, and computer. So that was another 7. I also moved my stove downstairs.
If I get an inspection soon out of nowhere, I'm gonna be very angry.
Disassembling the fridge brought my plastic back up to 50, which was what I needed for the next rocket phase.
Yeah, I think I have to do it, man. I think I have to break these room upgrades. I kind of want the powerhouse upgrade. That sounds useful.
But I wanted the electronics more. The 2 powerhouse upgrades gave 1 electronics each, the pump house upgrades also gave 1 each, and the freezer upgrade gave 2. And with that I had 20 total once again.
How else are you supposed to get electronics?
When I accepted all that profit from the mailbox, I earned the achievement to have 1,000 coins in my pocket. I bought some stuff from Joe, which maxed out my trust with him, earning another achievement, but sadly nothing electronic appeared in his shop. The Jetsons sell electronics, and I was still level 1 trust with them, but apparently I was too daft to try leveling them up. I did make a water tank though, and I had dreams of automation. Alas, I felt limited.
If I had electronics, I would definitely deck out all the rooms, but the electronics seem completely impossible to come by. I got Lucille.
At least I got this Walking Dead reference of a weapon. And on day 64, I finally rubbed 2 brain cells together long enough in order to think up a great plan. How about I buy stuff from the Jetsons to earn their trust? You know, the Jetsons, the only people that sell electronics, it would probably be smart to max out your trust with them. Also,
what? He sells electronics sometimes? Oh my gosh. Joe sells 1 electronics every now and then. when he's at max trust, I guess.
Finally, another source of electronics. By the way, on the bottom left there, you can finally see I'd worked out how to hotkey consumables. It only took me like 60 days, because I'm a genius. Not only is it convenient, stuff that's hotkeyed weighs nothing, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't spoil either. So I really wish I'd figured that out earlier. On day 65, phones showed up at the Jetsons, great news. Also, a $363 mystery blueprint showed up at Joe's, so I of course bought it. I noticed that the water tank automatically magically summoned water from these buckets. That was handy. And this is what the blueprint taught me how to make. The Tesla coil gun. Absolutely glorious. I also sold some stuff to Nancy to get her trust up, and it was maxed in no time.
He sells a halberd now? What the heck?
I began buying stuff from the supermarket just so I could sell it to Jenny to get her trust up as well, and I of course bought that halberd.
Look at him go. Yes, prepper. Go, you big beast. And then you can always switch out to your ridiculous gun.
Meanwhile, I continued the usual shenanigans with traps, etc., and I'd been dilly-dallying getting the bullets to the Minuteman, but only because Joe didn't sell bullets every day. But I finally got there on day 66, and that earned the achievement for maxing out trust with the Minuteman.
Just please give me that trust up. Oh, nice. Oh, yes. Yes. You beautiful man. Sells radios now.
Yeah, I really should have maxed out trust with the Jetsons ages ago, because now they had 4 things for sale each day, and radios plus computers were added to the rotation of stuff they sold. So suddenly, I was able to get electronics pretty quickly, as I also continued buying 1 per day from Joe. I destroyed a bat with the Tesla coil just for the thrill of it, and then it was time.
The only thing I was waiting for really was to get the Minuteman's quest done, and I thought I would hear from him again, but apparently not. So I think let's do the rocket. 50 plastic, 20 electronics, 10 textiles. Those electronics were hard fought. The rocket control module I stole from Fort Observer. Let's get building, baby. The rocket is coming into existence. 1 section at a time. It's done. No way. My little shiny thing is complete, the last part of my ultimate escape plan. The launch procedure can be started at any moment. Now I just need to think if there's something left to do in Merrickville.
Finally, the rocket was complete. Another achievement. The only other quest I had was to repair the final level of the forest ropeway, which required 30 electronics, so I figured I'd save that for post-game. And so, on the morning of day 68, I popped the switch Bob had given me on the wall and flicked it, which set the red light to flashing. That was the signal for the Sleepless to be about their mischief while my rocket distracted everyone. I headed out back to see who would show up.
Sleepless? Sleepless? Bob, why do you have such an incredible hunch?
Chupacabra and Joe showed up too, but no Jenny.
Is it because I haven't maxed out my trust with Jenny?
That was indeed the reason. I had a rather long chat with Bob, and he expressed gratitude and admiration for my rebellious ways.
He's afraid the awakening triggers something else, a reaction of deep state, a massive release of chemtrails, ionosphere activation.
And Joe ranted about Joe things.
I'm not one of those types, but just in case, remember to look out of the window and see if the Earth is really round. It'll be funny if it's not.
But this was basically a lovely goodbye with my friends. Once I was done with that, the agent showed up at my front door. Uh-oh. But it's all good. I was ready to defend my property.
Get some, agent.
I let the suit in, and it was time for a twist.
Please call me Minuteman from now on. No way. All those inspections and reports were just for show? You had fun harassing me, Minuteman? I had to keep up appearances, you cheeky bugger. And I even resisted the urge to look under your rug. Yeah, I thought you were pretty bad at looking under rugs.
The Minuteman explained that thanks to the gun I'd sent him, he'd survived the government ambush. And then he explained some more.
You caught my eye a long time ago when we were still working together. Ah. You were a top-class engineer. Your solutions were absolutely vital to getting the Brazen Serpent up to the orbit and keeping it there.
I asked how it was that I stopped working for the government.
After the successful launch for the Brazen Serpent, you got bored, and one day you visited the Inspiration and Well-Being Department.
And that's when I'd seen them testing mind control devices on dogs.
I literally let the dogs out. Who let the dogs out?
I had not been happy about the dogs. I was totally happy helping them mind control the entire human population of America, but I drew the line at dogs. After I'd destroyed the lab, I'd flown away, crashed, and been found in the forest. And the Minuteman had convinced them to use me as a test. And long story short, the Minuteman had found a way to become my handler, and from there conspired with me in our anti-government shenanigans. And he explained he'd become anti-agency because of boredom.
It's like both these guys didn't try to stop the government because they were oppressive. They just got bored, it seems like. The Brazen Serpent doesn't affect only our great country. A foreign attack is imminent.
Okay, so what do you want, mate?
I want to get away with you in your rocket. Nope, not gonna happen. But Mr. Prepper? No, it's impossible. There's only one place inside, and I'm pretty sure you can't control a rocket.
As consolation, I told him he could use my bunker if he wanted.
Ah, at last, this is where it ends. In a short moment, I will be speeding away in a giant metal bullet. Goodbye, Americaville. I won't miss you.
My backyard erupted. I hopped in the rocket. I did a glorious 180 swivel. The doors shut. The rocket hissed. The hydrogen burned, and zoom.
Look at that rocket fuel go. Freedom! America!
Bob was suitably impressed.
And now the time has finally come. Let's start the Operation Awakening.
These dinguses confronted each other, and the Minuteman tried to explain he was a friend, but then this happened.
Oh my gosh. That's awkward. Get into the bunker, boys. Get into the bunker, boys.
I'm not sure Operation Awakening was off to a great start.
We're not prepared for this. Guess who was prepared? Mr. Prepper.
And that is how the story ended for the patriotic town of Americaville, with nuclear annihilation. And the Three Stooges took refuge in my glorious bunker in order to survive the apocalypse.
It's not the most impressive bunker, man. Like, I didn't get to finish it because I needed more electronics. What the heck?
Rumble of engines. Overwhelming speed. This is what everything has led to. I went through a plane crash, memory loss, government surveillance. I dug myself a second home underground, and then I fought, farmed, explored, and built my way out of that damn town. In my previous life, I worked for the regime. In this one, I've helped some weird dreamers like me fight it.
Yeah.
Onward, to new beginnings, to freedom.
Where is the rocket going?
It was then time for the credits, during which I controlled the rocket and crashed into many names, which earned me an achievement.
Collect all names in the credits, boom.
I also earned an achievement for completing the game without fainting at all. And in the post-credit scene, I slowly parachuted down to land in an idyllic location, far from the fallout of that nuke. Nice one.
What's this guy up to? Stop bushwalking.
Okay, now it was time for the post-game achievement cleanup. Also, I wanted to zhuzh up my bunker. I collected electronics, thank you Jetson and Jetson, and I was on the grind. On day 69, I dug out a big fat room. This earned me the achievement for having more than 7 rooms in the bunker. While brewing so many energy drinks, I earned the achievement to cook 200 dishes. I napped 3 times in one day for another achievement, and I changed the color of some lights until my bunker had all possible colors shining for yet another achievement. I soon had over 30 electronics, long live the Jetsons, so I did some crafting. I made and placed some generators.
Okay, so 2 generators can power up my whole base at the moment. Get the powerhouse upgrade and turn this into my power room.
I made a refueler and an oil refiller too. You chuck oil in the oil refiller and it automatically pops it in the refinery. I put the upgrade modules in and that meant my generators in this room were more efficient. You pop fuel in the fuel refiller and it automatically refills any generators as soon as they run out of fuel. I also had space for 1 steam generator, so I kept one of those around. And I placed 1 more generator for good measure too.
So we've officially got a fuel room happening here.
Meanwhile, Meanwhile, I was stocking up on tons of meat thanks to these traps. Having heaps of food was going to be handy for some achievements, so this was good news. On day 75, I demolished this room and rebuilt smaller rooms in that space. This room here became a dodgy kitchen, and I upgraded the room next to it into a pump house, which improved the effectiveness of this big honkin' thingo that magically creates water. I also put the furnace and a water tank in there. On day 79, after quite a long time selling fruit and veggies to Jenny daily, I finally hit max trust with her.
Yes! Woo-hee-hee, finally.
Another achievement. I placed a bunch of greenhouses in the big room, which earned me the achievement for making 5 greenhouses. And that thing in the right of the room is an irrigator, which automatically waters nearby plants. I planted apples, tomatoes, and oranges in here. I also needed reputation with Tony the Tailor, and I also needed to look cooler, so I began purchasing some choice garments.
Look at that jacket.
I hadn't gotten the seeds for the apple trees yet, but the other stuff grew really fast in here, as the greenhouses are just fast in general, and I'd given the whole room the farm upgrade too. Also, by this point, I took to fast forwarding through the days, because I needed to survive a full year for an achievement, and I was only on day 82. So far, I hadn't had much use for the fast forward feature, but now it was proving its worth. I initiated the ending again, because now that I had full trust with Jenny, another achievement was on the menu. This time, she showed up for the goodbyes, and she ended up taking shelter in my bunker with the other goobers.
It's a much more impressive setup now. Get the full ending.
I bought some more clothes from Tony and reached max trust with him.
Alright, that's max level with all 9 trading options.
And another achievement. I also repaired the final ropeway section. This unlocked an infinite forest area where I zapped some idiots. Also, check out the outfit. Very handsome. At around day 87, I began refusing to run. I was walking only. I also began eating exclusively blueberries. I'd saved up about 100 for the occasion.
It just gave me the blueberry achievement? What?
I thought it was 7 days in a row, but maybe it was 7 days total eating only blueberries. And I guess I had quite a few blueberry days early in the playthrough. At the end of day 97, I got the no running achievement. It was to avoid running for 7 days. Somehow, it took me 10 days because I kept accidentally running. By the way, Mr. Prepper loves doing squats while he's killing time. It's good stuff. At this point, I left the game on, speeding through days in the background as I worked on other stuff. Although I did manage to grow apple trees. Turns out they don't grow in greenhouses, but planters. So this was the final layout of the big farm room. I soon got the survive 4 months achievement. I had heaps of food from all the trapping, but I'd been worried it wouldn't be enough to survive 240 more days. But with this greenhouse producing every day, I was definitely all good for food. I also rearranged the guarana rooms so it could fit an irrigator, which meant I no longer needed to water any of my crops manually. And I decided one more room was necessary. Somewhere to sleep and just hang out. Although the bed didn't fit, so I settled for a couch. And I don't know why I didn't start sleeping down here ages ago. I'd been sleeping all the way upstairs for no reason this whole time.
But this is the completed bunker. Greenhouse, fuel refinement and power, another little greenhouse, crafting, kitchen, smelting and water production, living, and a big old random rocket.
I should mention the power stayed steady. I'd stocked up on so much fuel that the generators never ran out, all the way up to day 360.
So we are on month 12, day 27, what's that? Day 357. I've skipped like 240 days almost. I've had it mostly going in the background, but you kind of have to skip time, like speed up time actively. You have to sleep and all this. Anyway, it's a bit of a headache.
While fast forwarding the days, each day took about 2 minutes. But I developed a faster fainting method at about day 150. Even so, it took about 5 hours all up.
Long story short, I've been deliberately fainting a lot because it skips time faster. But it doesn't let you faint 4 times in a row or else it forces you to load a save. So I've been fainting a bunch and then sleeping to get back a bit of health and then fainting a bunch and blah blah blah. And eventually, you faint. And it's very dramatic. It's good stuff. But when you faint, you skip an extra day for some reason. But not every time you faint, only the final time you faint before potentially dying. I don't know why, it's kind of complicated. But anyway, that is the fastest way that I've found to skip through days. And finally, 360 days are gone. The original prepper survived 1 year. Absolutely huge achievement. You may have noticed there are a lot of achievements left. Most of these relate to the DLC.
I dislike when games require DLC in order to get 100%. They do not count.
But I do have a few more base game achievements.
However, I was officially done with my first playthrough. I fired up a new playthrough and gutted my house, making it very much unworthy. I completely failed an inspection and got arrested. A good achievement. I then jumped back into my original save, but I changed my computer's date to Halloween. This caused an idiot scarecrow pumpkinhead to spawn in the forest, and I chased him around for ages. It was actually quite annoying. But eventually, I had an epic battle with its minions, and I earned the Halloween achievement. And then came the biggest challenge by far. I had to speedrun run the game, completing the entire thing in less than 30 days. I found this guide that suggested it could be done in 16 days, so I figured surely I could pull it off with 14 days of buffer. I fired up a new save file and got to it. Basically, I rushed like a madman, attempting to follow the impossible instructions of the guide. I did not keep up with the 16-day schedule, as I fell a couple of days behind pretty quickly, but this challenge was genuinely pretty fun. I beelined for all the quests, I collected only exactly what was needed, and I stayed up until 3 AM over and over, squeezing as much out of every day as humanly possible. When it came to building bunker rooms, I somehow failed to follow the guide's instructions, so I made my rooms way too big, which set me back a bit, but it wasn't the end of the world. And overall, it's fair to say this was pretty intense. I was down on level 5 of the mines by day 12. I received clear radio signal from Mexico on day 13. One thing I did way better, obviously, was that I aggressively used trading to get a ton of plastic and electronics extremely quickly. For example, I bought so many of those round containers from Sergey, the ones that give both metal and plastic. I did Fort Observer on day 16, and I had a very important side mission while there, involving inspecting all of the pot plants.
This is one of the worst video game bosses I've ever seen in my life.
I inspected all 13 pot plants here multiple times, but the achievement refused to pop. But when I inspected the pot plant at Jenny's, again, finally, a very random achievement to inspect 14 pot plants. One big mistake that held me back was I forgot I needed 99 guarana, so I was a bit slow farming those. But regardless, I got the job done on day 20. Only 4 days slower than the guide, not too bad. With that, I had knocked over all 61 achievements of the base game. 100% of Mr. Prepper complete.